anyone really above the law in India? Does our constitution allow special privileges based on your parivar? Today, when Sonia Gandhi was called for questioning by the Enforcement Directorate, her party unleashed arg, abuse and arrogance. A protest against alleged misuse of central agencies was branded Satyagraha 2.0. But these visuals on your screen show how Mahatma Gandhi's form of peaceful protest was usurped and twisted by the Congress cadre today. Accused of rupees 2,000 crore land grab, money laundering and cheating on taxes, the Congress orchestrated protests across the nation. Sample some of these visuals on your screens as we ask, is this Satyagraha? As far as Bengaluru is concerned, according to reports, Congress workers bought a car and then set it ablaze. Is burning of the cars Satyagraha? From Hyderabad came visuals of a scooty being set on fire by the cadre. Is arson Satyagraha? From the national capital came visuals of a train being stalled. Is disrupting train services Satyagraha? From Guwahati came visuals of bringing down of barricades by the workers, resisting arrest. Is resisting arrest Satyagraha? In Hyderabad, we saw an ambulance and fire brigade stranded, blocked due to protests taking place. Is blocking path to life Satyagraha? As far as Lok Sabha is concerned, banners were raised, slogans were chanted, and there was disruption of Sansad. Is disrupting Sansad a form of Satyagraha? Those are the questions that are being asked to the Congress party today after these protests seem to have turned violent in some places as well. However, let's now listen to how the loyalists of the Parivar are justifying violence as an outpouring of anger.
We do not want to have protests like that, but the people are very angry. You know, when you have Nipur Sharma who talks about the Prophet and demeans religion, you know, and the minorities are feeling cornered, they are angry. And you know, if their leaders, they feel these are the leaders who speak about it in Parliament, you know, they stand by them, and then, you know, they will definitely revolt, they'll rebel.
The common man's problem also is Sonia Gandhi. Congress party is a party that brought freedom to this country. We here today stand and voice for the freedom of the human beings, freedom of individuals, freedom of citizens, and now you're trying to cut down the voice of the freedom of the individuals. So the youngsters are getting angry, they're coming out and burning things.
बीजेपी वाले ऐसी झूठे बातों में माहिर हो गए, तो ऐसे बाता अब उनका ही आदमी होगा ये ऐसे कामों में, क्योंकि कांग्रेस पार्टी को बदनाम करने के लिए ऐसे फालतू कामों। परसों उदयपुर में एक हत्या हुआ था, कौन था वो हिंदू मुसलमानों में कुछ जहर फैलाने के लिए कोशिश किए, वो पकड़ा गया। कौन निकला? भारतीय जनता पार्टी का निकला।
Not just the arson and violence, but Congress went to great lengths to defend the Parivar. Watch their arrogance and entitlement as they ask how ED dared to summon Sonia Gandhi for interrogation. In fact, TMC's Yashwant Sinha went to the extent of saying that if ED had questions for Sonia Gandhi, they should have gone to her home with a questionnaire instead of summoning her to the office.
I mean, they should be considering her age as well as her health, and you know, as I said, she could have been asked questions in her house, wherever they felt. I suppose, I mean, if I use the word that it's you know, they are vindictive, and you know, I think that in a way I'm talking about the BJP. I would say that it's a complete witch hunt.
3-4 ತಲೆಮಾರುಗಳಿಗೆ ಆಗುವಷ್ಟನ್ನು ನಾವು ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೇವೆ ನೆಹರು, ಇಂದಿರಾ ಗಾಂಧಿ, ಸೋನಿಯಾ ಗಾಂಧಿ ಹೆಸರಲ್ಲಿ. ಈ ಕಿಂಚತ್ತು ತ್ಯಾಗಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ತಯಾರಾಗದೆ ಹೋದರೆ ನಾವು ಇನ್ನು ಮುಂದಕ್ಕೆ ತಿಂತಕ್ಕಂತ ಅನ್ನದಲ್ಲಿ ಹುಳು ಬೀಳುತ್ತೆ.
The centre, however, reminded the Parivar that all are equal in the eyes of law. Listen in.
इनके बारे में मैं पूछना चाहूँ, एवरीबडी इज इक्वल इन द लॉ और नॉट? ये कानून के समान, कानून के सामने सब समान है या नहीं है? क्या कांग्रेस के अध्यक्ष है तो सुपर ह्यूमन बीइंग है क्या? कानून हमको संबंध नहीं है, ऐसा सोचते हैं।
अगर गांधी परिवार बेदाग है तो अब बेहाल क्यों? अगर गांधी परिवार ने भ्रष्टाचार नहीं किया तो हंगामा क्यों? आखिरकार भारत के नागरिकों से अगर किसी ने भ्रष्टाचार किया हो उससे पूछताछ करना जांच एजेंसियों का काम है, तो क्या गांधी परिवार के लिए कानून अलग से बने? ये हंगामा किस बात का?
This problem emanates from the Congress mindset, which according to the Congress party is one family is above any agencies, any constitutional authorities or any question. One family is above everything. They should not forget that the rule of law prevails upon everybody and everybody is equal in the eyes of the law.
All right, we're moving on now and shifting our focus to the biggest development of the day, extremely significant. India has got its next president. Draupadi Murmu is the 15th president of India, the second female president, and in fact the first from the tribal community. And in fact, opposition's candidate Yashwant Sinha has already conceded defeat. He has tweeted, and I quote, he says, "I join my fellow citizens in congratulating Srimati Draupadi Murmu on her victory in the presidential election 2022. India hopes that as the 15th president of the Republic, she functions as the custodian of the constitution without fear or favor." That is what Yashwant Sinha has said now while congratulating Draupadi Murmu. But let's not forget the name calling that happened. Draupadi Murmu was called a rubber stamp by some. Some said that we don't want a murti in the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Today, of course, Yashwant Sinha, after Draupadi Murmu crossed the 50% majority mark, has conceded defeat and has congratulated Draupadi Murmu on becoming the 15th president of India. We're getting you visuals of the celebrations that in fact already had begun, and they were underway at Draupadi Murmu's native town in Rairangpur in Odisha. Family members, the entire village, the entire town out on the streets celebrating this significant moment, this historic moment. And the opposition at this point of time, the biggest question that they need to answer is, will they now accept that not just the fact that Draupadi Murmu has become the 15th president of the country, but there are very clear cracks in terms of opposition unity. We have a reaction coming in fact from Meenakshi Lekhi. Let's listen in.
ये हम प्रधानमंत्री जी के निर्णय के भी आभारी हैं और साथ ही द्रौपदी मुर्मू जी को बेस्ट विशेस, सादर प्रणाम। और इस देश की जनता को सबसे बड़ा संदेश कि एक भारत श्रेष्ठ भारत सिर्फ नारा नहीं है, ये एक सिद्धांत है जिसके लिए हम सब काम कर रहे हैं। मैं बधाई देना चाहती हूँ। मुझे लगता
बस उनके तो वो लोग बहुत खुशी था, इसीलिए उन लोग को भी बधाई देना चाहता हूँ कि दीदी का मतलब खुशी में मतलब उन लोग जुड़ा हुआ था, इसीलिए उन लोग को बहुत बहुत बधाई है।
धन्यवाद। So that was the younger brother of Draupadi Murmu speaking exclusively to Times Now right after it was announced that Draupadi Murmu has won the presidential election and is going to be the 15th president of India. With video journalist Yagush Bharadwaj, this is Sabyasachi Roy Chaudhary for Times Now from Rairangpur.
All right, let's go across to Pranesh for an update. Yashwant Sinha has conceded defeat, is congratulating Draupadi Murmu, but with a word of advice, says custodian of constitution without fear or favor.
Not just that, there are other things that also he said in this letter. And let me just read it out so that we know what he said. He begins by saying, "I heartily congratulate Draupadi Murmu on her victory in the presidential election. I hope indeed every Indian hopes that as 15th president, she functions as the custodian of the constitution without fear or favor. I join my countrymen in extending best wishes to her. I thank leaders of the opposition political parties for choosing me as their consensus candidate. Despite the outcome of the election, I believe it has benefited Indian democracy in two important ways. First, it brought most opposition parties on a common platform. This is indeed the need of the hour, and I earnestly appeal to them to continue, indeed further strengthen opposition unity. Beyond the presidential election, it must be equally evident in the election of the vice president." Now, we all know what has happened because the cross-voting numbers are out. The opposition unity is exposed. The opposition unity has crumbled. And then he says, second point, in the course of my election campaign, I tried to highlight the views, concerns, commitments of the opposition parties on major issues before the nation and the common people. In particular, I voiced strong concern over the blatant and rampant weaponization of ED, CBI, income tax, and even the office of the governor against opposition parties and their leaders. These institutions are also being misused to engineer defections and topple opposition-run state governments. India has never seen political corruption of such magnitude. Very, very strong words and a charge by Yashwant Sinha, who's lost the polls.
All right, Pranesh, stay on with us. We also have Aishwarya joining us from the residence, in fact, of Draupadi Murmu. Yashwant Sinha, even while congratulating Draupadi Murmu, you know, the cynicism, the sarcasm is evident.
Well, that's right. In fact, Yashwant Sinha, while campaigning as well, has several times told us that he is fighting these elections against the government agencies and the way the government is working, and therefore MPs and MLAs
as we speak, we in fact are getting live visuals of BJP President JP Nadda there. This is a big moment for the BJP. The NDA candidate Draupadi Murmu is now going to be the 15th President of India. Congratulations are in order, but at the same time the opposition still taking jibes at NDA, taking jibes at Draupadi Murmu as well. Live visuals coming in of JP Nadda. As far as cross-voting is concerned, that Pranesh was also mentioning, 17 MPs and 104 MLAs have cross-voted, yet Yashwant Sinha talks about opposition unity. Let's not forget the name calling that happened, like Aishwarya was also highlighting. Somebody called her an individual who represents evil philosophy. She was called a rubber stamp. Tejasvi Yadav said, "Hame murti nahi chahiye Rashtrapati Bhavan mein." And now that Draupadi Murmu has become the 15th President of India, second female President and the first from the tribal community, there are a lot of questions and explanations, in fact, that the opposition will have to offer. Live visuals coming in from the BJP office. JP Nadda, the BJP President, has reached there along with other top BJP leaders. Many are calling it a master stroke of the BJP as well. Some experts believe that the BJP is also eyeing the upcoming state assembly elections. Many also questioning, will this go beyond symbolism? Will there be an impact on the ground as far as the tribal community, their position, their situation in the country is concerned? And we're also playing out visuals of the celebrations that are underway at this point of time, especially visuals coming in from the native town of Draupadi Murmu. Let's go back to our reporters. In fact, we also got the first reaction from Draupadi Murmu's brother. Family absolutely excited, celebrating each and every moment. We have a reaction coming in from Anurag Thakur as well. Listen in.
ये संभव तभी है जब देश आगे बढ़ रहा है। मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में समाज के हर वर्ग को आगे बढ़ने का अवसर भी मिल रहा है, प्रतिनिधित्व भी मिल रहा है, और मुझे पूर्ण विश्वास है एक विधायक के रूप में उन्होंने शानदार काम किया, एक गवर्नर के रूप में शानदार काम किया, एक बहुत सफल राष्ट्रपति के रूप में भी वो सफल होंगी। मेरी बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं।
Okay, Sabyasachi, Aishwarya and Nilashish are joining us at this point of time. Let's go across to Sabyasachi. You got us first reaction from Draupadi Murmu's brother. There are a lot of reactions coming in on social media, on Twitter as well. Mamata Banerjee has also congratulated Draupadi Murmu, but the tone and tenor is similar to what Yashwant Sinha says, which is that they hope that she'll be the custodian of our democracy.
Well, absolutely. You see opposition still maintains that particular tone. But it's a great victory for the people of, I'm continuously saying, because you see that since morning there has been several hundred of people, in fact, coming from different areas of Mayurbhanj to just give their support to Draupadi Murmu. And I just spoke a few minutes back to Draupadi Murmu's brother. He is absolutely happy. He calls it that it is people's win. And after 2 days, they will be going to the national capital to meet Draupadi Murmu over there. He would be present at the oath ceremony, and continues the kind of support and the humble background that Draupadi Murmu has speaks for itself. And we have seen that the kind of support that she has got not only in Rairangpur but also across the entire Mayurbhanj district. But coming back to the opposition, the kind of tone that they are maintaining, they need to question themselves first, because at times we have seen that the cross-voting has been the major point of discussion when we talk about the opposition. And also there has been instances where Congress MLA from Odisha has just come out of voting, and he openly says that I voted for Draupadi Murmu because my heart says so. this is the kind of situation that the opposition has to deal with it first. Rather, the results around Draupadi Murmu, who has been chosen as the 15th President of India, the first tribal woman, it was very clear from the day one the kind of support she has got from the political parties, started with the BJD and followed by the YSRCP and the rest of the political parties. So clearly this is what the people wanted here in Rairangpur, and they have got it, and since morning they have been celebrating every second of it, and now her brother is absolutely happy, and he has come out, he has started to distribute sweets, and also speaks that soon after 2 days he will be visiting to the national capital to meet his sister.
Right, stay on with us, Sabyasachi. Let me quickly also go across to Nilashish. Nilashish, we just saw visuals of JP Nadda arriving at the office. What's happening there?
Well, we are in fact right now right in front of the Rashtrapati Bhavan. You can see that's the road to Rashtrapati Bhavan, and it seems absolutely clear for Draupadi Murmu at this point. Celebrations here outside in this area. Of course, a number of BJP workers had in fact marched down from their state office. There was a procession, a number of people with various dhols, sweets, a number of instruments, people dancing on the streets, waving the tricolor. It is definitely a mood of celebration here. There continues to be a gathering here on the side of the road at this point. Of course, now most of the leaders have dispersed after Draupadi Murmu. It became clear that she was becoming the president. So now the workers continue to be here. Of course, they've said it's a momentous occasion. It's a mood of celebration. The leaders were showered with flower petals, rose petals. As we said, sweets were being distributed. And at this point now, the police is also trying to ensure that there is smooth passage of traffic. But as far as the celebrations are concerned, we have seen a number of people who came out onto the streets in anticipation of Draupadi Murmu's official announcement as the 15th President of India. But yes, people from various walks of life, from various regions gathered together in the national capital outside Pandit Pant Marg, walked about 2.5 to 3 kilometers, and they have been ecstatic over the last 4-5 hours.
Before we open this up and go across to our guests as well, I want to quickly bring in Aishwarya, who's joining us from inside Draupadi Murmu's residence, the temporary residence, of course, in the national capital now, because that distance will be covered from the temporary residence to Sinha Hills after she takes oath as the 15th president. Show us the visuals around you, and if you can also get us some live reactions.
Oh well, celebrations out here at Draupadi Murmu's temporary residence, and BJP President JP Nadda just few moments ago arriving over here to congratulate Draupadi Murmu as she becomes India's 15th President and first woman tribal President. And these are the live visuals that we are showing you from 4 Uma Shankar Lane, the temporary residence. There have been different groups, dance groups who have arrived over here, and they are performing and celebrating for the victory of Draupadi Murmu. G. Kishan Reddy can be seen clearly, who was here since morning, and he was personally monitoring and seeing the situation. We have been told that after the final results will be announced at here first the CEC, this is the Chief Election Commissioner, he will be arriving and he will be giving that golden certificate to Draupadi Murmu. After that, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Rajnath Singh and Amit Shah will be also arriving, and there will be a felicitation program that is lined up here at the residence of Draupadi Murmu. But several BJP leaders now have started arriving soon after the BJP President JP Nadda was already arrived.
With us, former Minister, Jharkhand Chief Minister, Mr. Munda, Arjun Munda is joining us on the broadcast. Thank you very much for joining us. This is a very, very historic, significant moment. Draupadi Murmu ji has become the 15th President of India.
हेलो
अर्जुन मुंडा जी, अगर आप मुझे सुन पा रहे हैं, बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण क्षण है ये। द्रौपदी मुर्मू जी 15वीं राष्ट्रपति भारत वर्ष की।
आइए हम समाज के लिए
ये एक बहुत ही अहम क्षण है, बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण है कि एक महिला आदिवासी देश की राष्ट्रपति बन रही है और कुछ ही देर में मैं समझता हूँ कि वो ऑफिशियली डिक्लेयर हो जाएंगे। और मैं समझता हूँ कि ये जो एक नया इतिहास की तरफ देश बढ़ रहा है, जो आजादी के 75 वर्ष में एक आदिवासी महिला को राष्ट्रपति बनने का मौका मिल रहा है। प्रधानमंत्री हैं नरेंद्र मोदी जी।
जी अर्जुन मुंडा जी, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आपका हमसे बात करने के लिए। दिस इज अ वेरी वेरी हिस्टोरिक एंड अ सिग्निफिकेंट मोमेंट। वी हैव फॉर्मर चीफ मिनिस्टर ऑफ झारखंड रघुबर दास joining us on the broadcast as well. Several appeals in fact were made, sir, to the tribal MPs, MLAs to support द्रौपदी मुर्मू and to not see the candidature from the political prism. आपको लगता है वो अपील भी काम की है? क्योंकि बहुत क्रॉस वोटिंग भी हुई है, उसका डेटा सामने आ रहा है, लेकिन देश के लिए बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण क्षण, क्योंकि वो पहली महिला राष्ट्रपति ट्राइबल कम्युनिटी से बनी है।
मैं सर्वप्रथम तो आदरणीय श्रीमती द्रौपदी मुर्मू जी को देशवासियों की ओर से, झारखंड वासियों की ओर से ढेर सारी शुभकामनाएं। निश्चित रूप से आजादी के 75 वर्ष बीत जाने के बाद पहली बार किसी जनजाति महिला जो गरीब परिवार से आती है, इस देश का सर्वोच्च संवैधानिक प्रमुख बनाने के लिए जो हमारे देश के लोकप्रिय प्रधानमंत्री आदरणीय मोदी जी, हमारे भारतीय जनता पार्टी के राष्ट्रीय नेतृत्व और एनडीए के साथ साथ जिन लोगों ने भी आदरणीय द्रौपदी मुर्मू जी को राष्ट्रपति बनने में भूमिका अदा किया, समस्त लोग के प्रति आभार प्रकट करता हूँ।
जी, आप मोदी जी की बात कर रहे हैं और हमें सीधी तस्वीरें भी इस वक्त मिल रही हैं, एंड आई एम बीइंग टोल्ड दैट द प्राइम मिनिस्टर इन फैक्ट हैज रीच्ड द्रौपदी मुर्मूज रेसिडेंस, ऑफ कोर्स टू कांग्रेचुलेट द्रौपदी मुर्मू। और जैसा कि आप भी बता रहे हैं, बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण क्षण है ये पूरे देश के लिए, फॉर द एंटायर ट्राइबल कम्युनिटी। इन फैक्ट शी वाज चोजन एज द एनडीए कैंडिडेट फॉर द पोस्ट, द टॉप कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल पोस्ट, एंड टुडे द्रौपदी Murmu has in fact become the 15th president of India. Those are live visuals coming in of Prime Minister Narendra Modi along with JP Nadda, and we are being told that of course he is on his way to congratulate Draupadi Murmu for this victory, this historic victory, as Draupadi Murmu becomes the first tribal president, the second female president, and most importantly the youngest president of India. Live visuals of Prime Minister Narendra Modi along with the BJP president JP Nadda, they're entering Draupadi Murmu's residence. Let's see if we can go across to Aishwarya if he's still with us. Aishwarya, if you are still with us, get us more updates, because we're getting live visuals of the Prime Minister now reaching Draupadi Murmu's residence, and inside visuals coming in as well. The Prime Minister there presenting a bouquet of flowers to Draupadi Murmu, who now is the 15th president of the country, congratulating her for this historic win for the top constitutional post. A very, very significant moment, like several speakers on the broadcast have described this as for the tribal community, for the entire country, as Draupadi Murmu becomes the second female president. There in those visuals you can see the Prime Minister and JP Nadda, the BJP president, at Draupadi Murmu's residence. It will be very important, of course, to know the details of the conversation that are taking place at this point of time at Murmu's residence. But of course, the Prime Minister and JP Nadda both congratulating Draupadi Murmu for this historic victory. She was chosen as the NDA candidate. The unfortunate bit of the entire story are the personal jibes that were taken at Draupadi Murmu. But that, of course, is a thing to be discussed at another point of time. Right now, these visuals extremely significant of the Prime Minister along with JP Nadda at Murmu's residence, which is a temporary residence for her now. Now that she's become the 15th president of the country, her address will be changed to Raisina Hills. And I believe media personnel have been asked to go out of the room now. Prime Minister and JP Nadda in conversation with Draupadi Murmu at her residence. Extremely significant moment for not just Draupadi Murmu, for NDA, but for the entire country. Let's see if we can get a live update from Aishwarya. Aishwarya, over to you.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the way he came and he smiled and waved at all those those dance group members.
Aishwarya, there is, yes, the audio is not very clear. We'll come back to you. Let me go across to our guests. We have Shehzad Poonawala in the studio here with us. We have Dr. Anand Ranganathan. Shekhar Iyer is also joining us on the broadcast. And we have Syed Faisal Ali, senior leader of the RJD. It's a very, very important, historic, significant win. Shehzad Poonawala. And here are visuals of the Prime Minister and JP Nadda at Draupadi Murmu's residence.
Well, first of all, let me use this platform to extend my heartiest congratulations to Draupadi Murmu ji for being elected as the 15th President of India. And it is truly a historical and significant moment. I'm getting goosebumps as I speak this because she is truly the people's President. And this is the reclamation of the Republic that has just taken place in front of our eyes. A person who stood up from the grassroots, came from challenging socio-economic circumstances, rose to the top purely on the basis of her performance. For so many years we've rewarded Parivarvad, but today performance has been rewarded, and we have seen this culture, whether it is an OBC Prime Minister rising up to the top despite his Chaiwala background, whether it is the 60% representation to the SC, ST, OBC community in the cabinet, or whether it is the culmination and the cusp of history that we are standing at, that the first woman tribal president from Odisha has been elected to the highest constitutional position. I think this is the most significant moment in the quest for social justice and social transformation that we are seeing take place in the last 8 years, and therefore I extend my congratulations. It is unfortunate that some people try to delegitimize her election. It's happened with 70% votes, I've been told. So many people have cross-voted, but the nail in the coffin was that when you say that she represented evil mindset, a person who rises up to the top on performance is evil and Parivarvad is deified. This kind of statement that was made by the Congress party, I think, has made many people listen to their conscience, and they have today come to the conclusion that India must have a person like Draupadi Murmu heading, and whether it's the people's Padma or whether it's the people's president or the people's prime minister, this is a country that has elected social justice and social transformation in the form of the leaders that it is putting
All
forward.
right. Syed Faisal Ali, this next question to you is based on what Tejasvi Yadav said. क्या कहेंगे, मूर्ति या राष्ट्रपति?
Well, since she has been elected as President of India, I congratulate Draupadi Murmu, and this is not the time to talk about what happened in election. If you go back in the history, what Prime Minister has called many leaders in the electioneering, and many other leaders of the Bharatiya Janata Party has called names to all the nations in the country. So let us not go into that detail, because all these people, all leaders of the political parties, they say a lot of things during electioneering, but that is over. Now she is the President of India, and I congratulate her.
All right, so it's that easy to get rid of that mindset
and secondly,
and those comments, Dr. Anand Ranganathan. We are also joined by Dr. Amar Patnaik, MP and national spokesperson of the BJD. I'll come to you, sir, in just a bit. So it's very easy to now, forget the past, the fact that she was called a rubber stamp, a murti, and an individual who represents evil philosophy. And in this entire personal jibe episode that was taken at Draupadi Murmu and the NDA, perhaps she was insulted, a woman was insulted, a woman from the tribal community was insulted, her entire political journey was insulted, her contribution to politics was insulted, everything was negated.
No, absolutely. But first of all, I think let me, like Shehzad, congratulate and extend my heartiest congratulations to Madam President Draupadi Murmu ji. I think it is a really momentous day, a historic occasion that our 110 million tribal population, our tribal brothers and sisters have had to wait for 70 years to see this day, is a kind of reflection on the polity of our country. I have to say this. As far as Swati, your question about now the Congress and the opposition probably says that all the insults and the barbs that were thrown at Ms. Murmu are a thing of the past. I seriously doubt it. I think the barbs and abuses are going to even increase now, because let us remember it took Rahul Gandhi 7 months and Ms. Sonia Gandhi 13 months to make their first courtesy call to meet the President Kovind, who was a Dalit. So I don't know how long it would take for them to now meet our first tribal president. So they are not going to forget, showering abuses at the president. As I said, it's only going to increase.
All right, let me go across to Dr. Amar Patnaik. Your party, of course, supported Draupadi Murmu. It's a very, very significant moment for the entire state as well. Maybe you can throw some more light on her political journey. Celebrations began several hours back at her native town.
First of all, I'd like to congratulate Srimati Draupadi Murmu. Feel very proud indeed that I am an Odia myself. And as our Honorable Chief Minister has already tweeted, saying that she is the daughter of Orissa, and before, on way to the campaign, she had said she is the pride of Orissa. And Honorable Chief Minister really worked very hard to get votes from everyone in Orissa, because she is an Odia and she is our daughter. So I'm very happy. I also thank our Chief Minister for steadfastly supporting her all the way during this march. In fact, the Honorable Prime Minister had discussed with our Chief Minister while the candidature was being selected. Having said so, I think there are 5 things I would like to mention about her. First thing, of course, as an Odia, I am very happy she's an Odia. The second important thing is she's a woman. She represents and symbolizes the kind of empowerment that women in this country can get because of the political process, and more importantly, what women can achieve. Thirdly, she is of course belonging to the scheduled tribe, one of the poorest tribes in one of the poorest regions of Orissa, and belongs to a very humble background. So somebody who was belonging to a very humble background has risen up the ranks, but how? Through hard work, through dedication, and through a life in public service. She started as a councillor, she rose the ranks slowly, became a minister, became an MLA and a minister, and then became the governor, and with very discharged that responsibility, that constitutional position very efficiently. So I think this is a copybook case of women achieving something by dint of their hard work, despite their position in society, despite their economic position. And I must give full credit to our Chief Minister for really working hard to ensure her victory in this poll.
Right, Mr. Patnaik, stay on with us. Before I move on to our other guests, one, of course, we have visuals of the Prime Minister at Draupadi Murmu's residence congratulating her. We also have a reaction now from Ramnath Kovind, the 14th President of India, and I quote, heartiest congratulations and best wishes to Srimati Draupadi Murmu on being elected as the 15th President of India. I want to go across to Shekhar Iyer. Shekhar Iyer, not just like Mr. Patnaik described a political journey, a politician, an educator, and also a champion for environmental causes. Only if the opposition would have done some research or acknowledged the various facets of her personality, we wouldn't have seen political discourse hit so low.
Well, Swati, opposition knew who was Draupadi Murmu. I don't think they needed to do any research. But when you have spite in your heart and in your mind, I don't think you can see anything other than Modi everywhere. And that Modi ghost, the ghost of Modi, I think has completely...
Okay, sir, I'll have to interrupt you. We're getting a reaction from Draupadi Murmu's brother.
हम लोग 23 तारीख का टिकट काट चुका है, दिल्ली 23 तारीख को जा रहे हैं.
सर, आखिरी सवाल, जिस तरीके से सुबह से रायरंगपुर के वासी यहाँ पे मौजूद थे, सपोर्ट कर रहे थे, नाच रहे थे, गाना गा रहे थे, उनके लिए क्या कहना चाहेंगे?
बस उनके तो उन लोग बहुत खुशी था, इसीलिए उन लोग को भी बधाई देना चाहता हूँ कि दीदी का मतलब खुशी में उन लोग जुड़ा हुआ था, इसीलिए उन लोग को बहुत बहुत बधाई है.
धन्यवाद. So that was the younger brother of Draupadi Murmu speaking exclusively to Times Now right after it was announced that Draupadi Murmu has won the presidential election and is going to be the 15th President of India. With video journalist Yagush Bharadwaj, this is Sabyasachi Roy Chaudhary for Times Now from Rairangpur.
Right, so that was the first reaction from family after Draupadi Murmu's victory. We also have Sanjay Jha on the broadcast, but Shekhar Iyer, finish your point.
Well, we are witnessing a moment of euphoria across the country, particularly in the states like Odisha, parts of Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, wherever you have our tribal brothers and sisters, there is a great moment of euphoria. And I've worked in Odisha, I've been to Mayurband several times. I can fully appreciate the sentiments Dr. Amar Patnaik mentioned here. My initial years in journalism were in Odisha, and I know the conditions they have gone through there. And it does go to the credit of Odisha Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik, who has, really helped in a big way in bringing this moment. And unfortunately, opposition could have shared this moment of euphoria, But then, as you saw, even in the statement congratulating Draupadi Murmu, Yashwant Sinha is not able to overcome the spite in his heart.
The cynicism is evident, like I said. Not just not just while congratulating Draupadi Murmu, Yashwant Sinha's tweets reflect that, but Mamata Banerjee also, tweeting on similar lines. I want to bring in Sanjay Jha as well. Sanjay Jha, would you also, like Syed Faisal Ali, say that let bygones be bygones, let's forget about the unsavory comments, let's move on now that she is the 15th president, now that she has become Madam President?
Well, first and foremost, one would like by first congratulating Srimati Draupadi Murmu on becoming the future president of India. I want to make one point though. It's very easy to become very euphoric, but I'll give you one example of why I believe the Bharatiya Janata Party is truly hypocritical. And let me give you one example. You remember when the outgoing president, who's a Dalit, Mr. Kovind, and he was nominated when he won the election for the president, there was a similar, kind of environment created about a Dalit president, a breakthrough initiative, and how India was coming across more egalitarian. I want you to follow a report which has come out in the papers today, where a minister in the government in Uttar Pradesh is quit, saying that I have been treated very unfairly, and he happens to be a Dalit. So, how much of this cosmetic lip service is the BJP going to do? As I said in Rahul's or Navika's program the other day, this is a party which, to please the big, large corporates, to make their profit, make their bottom lines heavier. Some of them have now become the richest in the world, bigger than even Bill Gates, has destroyed forests, have resulted in environmental
You're calling it cosmetic lip service.
They have removed the green covers, and that's where the tribals suffer. And she comes from a tribal community.
Yes, and she's a champion for environmental causes as well. So you're saying this is symbolic, and cosmetic lip service is a term that you use. Shehzad Poonawalla.
It's very unfortunate that on an occasion like this, Sanjay Jha and the Congress, just like they called her evil, now tries to delegitimize the process. Please don't disturb me, Swati, I beg your indulgence. I hope that I won't be interrupted. Today, the Republic has been reclaimed as it was reclaimed in 2014. Today is an important day, but trust the Congress party to delegitimize it and only to legitimize Parivarwad. These are the people who defeated Ambedkar ji twice. They are the people who denied him the Bharat Ratna. They are the people who denied Bhagwan Birsa Munda his due place in history textbooks. We are the ones who started the celebration of Janjatiya Gaurav Divas. These people come and lecture us about SC, ST, OBC. Today 60% of the cabinet is SC, ST, OBC. Today you have 77 out of 131 seats of the MPs that are reserved for SC, ST won by the Bharatiya Janata Party. This is because they trust what we are doing for them and they trust the contributions that have been made by the Prime Minister. But today I have only one question to ask Mr. Sanjay Jha. Does Mrs. Draupadi Murmu represent an evil philosophy? At least have it in you to come out and condemn that statement. You and your government, Rajasthan, is responsible for the highest atrocities on SC, ST against in Rajasthan. Therefore, you have no locus standi to talk about this. But then, those who only have prayed to Parivarwad for 70 years can't digest that a person like Draupadi Murmu is going to be at the head of the constitution. And they have started the delegitimization
since you mentioned
process.
The Dalit community, Mr. Sanjay Jha, just adding to what Shehzad said, 24% of Dalits voted for BJP in 2014 and 34%. So there was an increase in the vote share, 34% in 2019. Please do respond to Shehzad Poonawalla.
Yeah, first and foremost, Shehzad Poonawalla is a Muslim. Let me ask Mr. Shehzad Poonawalla, why?
No, sir, I'm an Indian. This is your problem. I am an Indian. INDIAN. Indian, not Muslim, not Hindu, not one way, not the other way. Please stop this. Stop it on a day like this.
MP in the BJP, answer my question.
No, I don't need to answer your questions. You have done nothing for Muslims either, by the way. The Sachar committee report testifies that. The fact that you can't even make a Muslim a president of your party for the last 40 years testifies that. You will never make a Muslim anything of significance. It testifies that. Don't come here and lecture me what is the position of Muslims, because when we give 80 crore people rations, Muslims get it too. When we give 12 crore people toilets, Muslims get it too. When we give 9 crore cylinders, Muslims get it too. Because Mohit and Mohammed have the same place in this constitution, because Shilpa and Sultana will get the same rights under this constitution. Stop this tonight.
You have
Thank you.
You have sold your soul.
I have not sold my soul.
Okay, all
you
right.
have sold the entire country to one parivar ki bhakti.
There is no
That
need
won't
to
happen.
take personal
Stop it.
vibes, no personal attacks, no personal comments on the
It doesn't
panelists.
matter if I am Muslim or not.
Okay, I want to go across to Dr. Anand Ranganathan. Dr. Anand Ranganathan, I'm going to cite some data, and this is as per the CSDS Lok Niti survey, because Sanjay just said that this is symbolic and this is cosmetic lip service. According to the survey, 37% of Adivasis voted for BJP in 2014 and 44% voted in 2019. If that is not proof of the growing popularity of BJP in the tribal community, how else would you put it?
No, absolutely. But first of all, can I please, in solidarity with my brother Shehzad, extend my, I don't know, it's not quite anger, but it's frustration at what, on this day of all days, my good friend Sanjay Jha has been saying. I mean, please, can we please not be acrimonious at least today, Sanjay? It's a great, momentous occasion. It does not call for this, calling someone Muslim, calling someone this, Dalit and all that. And let me tell you, it is the BJP that, helped make the first Muslim president. It is the BJP that helped make a Dalit president and now a tribal president. And as Swati, the data you have cited. Now, Sanjay, I didn't interrupt.
Mr. Jha, please let him finish his point. I'll come to you for a counter. Yeah.
Thank you, Sanjay. Yes. And as far as you saying, basically alluding that again Ms. Murmu would be a rubber stamp president because BJP has been obliterating forests and creating havoc. Well, we have a Supreme Court, we have a justice system in our country, don't we? We shut down Sterlite plant, we shut down so many projects have been delayed for decades because the justice and the judiciary has come in. So for you to say that BJP is steamrolling and, removing all those forests and all those rivers and everything and at the same time electing a tribal, I think it's I don't know, of all days today, I didn't expect you to make that comment. Okay. And very briefly, Swati, just 30 seconds of what you say. It is a fact. 20 years ago, BJP used to be derisively called as the Brahmin Banya party. It is not. The reason why it keeps on winning like a election winning machine is because it has appropriated in a positive sense the Dalit and the tribal population of this country. Modi realized this. And if you remember in 2008, he gave a very momentous speech which not many people highlight. He said, I know where the lower strata, economic strata is. I know where the middle class and upper middle class is. I want to make a nano class. And this nano class will be constituted majorly by the Dalit and tribal population. He has done it.
All right. Dr. Patnaik also wants to come in. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so my point was, she was the NDA's candidate. But why are we only discussing BJP and Congress here? The fact that she was supported by the Biju Janata Dal and many parties reflects the fact that the kind of popularity or the kind of support she enjoyed across a significant portion of the political class. So just the BJP's candidate that we should be discussing in this channel, that BJP did this or BJP did that, and she is being symbolic. The very fact that Naveen Patnaik supported her candidature means that there was an issue of women empowerment, and she realizes the hard work she has put in and to come to this position right from the ranks. Isn't this a big thing? Isn't this something which all political parties should work for, as our CM says? That they are the actual double engine of growth. So I think on this particular day at least, we should celebrate the issues and not along party lines, but celebrate.
You're making a very important point. In fact, the Uddhav faction too, in a very last minute decision, supported Draupadi Murmu. So I want to bring in Syed Faisal Ali. Syed Faisal Ali, what are your comments on what you just heard from Dr. Amar Patnaik? Let's not look at it from the political prism.
See, first of all, the gentleman was saying that it was BJP who made the first Muslim president, APJ Abdul Kalam. It was not BJP. 55 years ago, Zakir Hussain was the first president of India. Then it was Fakhruddin Ali Ahmed who was the second Muslim president of India. And APJ Abdul Kalam was the third Muslim candidate of India.
Sir, of course,
and having said that, let me add that whatever we are talking about
all right. As we are discussing and debating, we have live visuals now coming in. Live visuals coming in from Draupadi Murmu's temporary residence, where the meeting between Draupadi Murmu, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and JP Nadda is over now. Of course, the Prime Minister, right after Draupadi Murmu crossed the 50% mark, reached her residence to congratulate her. A very, very significant historic moment, like the panelists have been describing. The Prime Minister there with Draupadi Murmu, the 15th President of India. It's very significant to mention that she is the youngest President, the second female President and the first from the tribal community. So Prime Minister Narendra Modi and JP Nadda now leaving Draupadi Murmu's residence. Okay, we also have Dr. Shantanu Sen, MP and spokesperson of the TMC, joining us on the broadcast. But Syed Faisal Ali, please finish your point. Syed Faisal Ali, finish your point.
Only when she was nominated as the candidate, then only. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Power supply was given to the village. So talking about her achievement or talking about that she epitomizes women empowerment is too early. See, what we have seen that Ramnath Kovind failed to deliver while he was in office. Do you think any empowerment of Dalit or OBCs when Mr. Ramnath Kovind was there in office for 5 years? Have you heard any of his observation or any dissenting voice of the president in last 5 years? No. He was just a president who was sitting in the presidential palace and doing nothing. So what Draupadi Murmu was do, only time will say. But
outgoing president, those comments come at
moment, and we all must.
Those comments for the outgoing president. Shahzad Poonawala wants to comment.
No, I'm not surprised that Syed Faisal Ali has called the tribal president a Murti, and now the outgoing Dalit president has also been insulted, because they can only respect one parivar, and therefore Syed Faisal Ali has insulted the tribal community and he has insulted the Dalit community. That is not surprising. Those who only believe in Parivarwad, Syed Faisal Ali, it's alright. I know you can't accommodate or see the vision of a Dalit president or the vision of a tribal president. I understand that, and therefore you have shown what your true color is. आपने अपनी असलियत दिखा दी है. आपको कोई शर्मिंदगी महसूस करने की बात नहीं है. सैयद फैजल अली, देश देख रहा है कि आपने अपनी असलियत दिखा दी है. आज के दिन पर भी एक ऐसे व्यक्ति जो वंचित समाज से आते हैं, आप उनको मूर्ति कहते हो, एक महिला को मूर्ति कहते हो, एक दलित राष्ट्रपति को.
मैं आपको थोड़ी देर के लिए रोक रही हूँ. जेंटलमैन, 1 second. वी आर जॉइंड बाय द्रौपदी मुर्मू's ब्रदर तारिणी सेन इज जॉइनिंग अस. बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए. सबसे पहले आपको बहुत बहुत मुबारक हो. आपकी बहन जो है वो 15वीं राष्ट्रपति देश की बन गई है. सॉरी. तारिणी सेन जी, क्या आप मुझे सुन पा रहे हैं? Okay, all right. We'll try and connect with him again and get you that live reaction. Meanwhile, let me go across to Dr. Shantanu Sen, because a lot was said about opposition unity even today. While congratulating Draupadi Murmu, Yashwant Sinha hailed the opposition unity. But the cross-voting clearly, Dr. Shantanu Sen, shows that, those MPs and MLAs who cross-voted preferred their conscience call instead of the party lines. And the TMC today in a big massive announcement has said, as far as the VP elections are concerned, the TMC was not consulted.
First of all, on behalf of myself and on behalf of my party, I really congratulate the newly elected President of India, Draupadi Murmu ji. But at the same time, I sincerely contradict and oppose the way it is being portrayed, as if BJP is the pro-Dalit party in the country. I strongly condemn it, citing few examples. This very Prime Minister of our country, Narendra Modi ji, when he used to be the Chief Minister of Gujarat, before 2014, 94% of these Gujarat tribal children were malnourished. This is an official record. Madhya Pradesh is the BJP ruled state, where crime on tribals has increased by 25% in comparison to the data given by...
Dr. Amar Patnaik just said that why are we making this about BJP and Congress? Tell me, is BJD anti-tribals, is YSR Congress anti-tribals, is JDU, is AIADMK, is LJP, is Nishad Party, is BSP, and I can go on and mention all the parties here who supported Draupadi Murmu's candidature. Are they all anti-tribal community?
If you are asking some question to your panelist, I believe you should have some patience to listen
And
to
I can
them at
also
the
ask
same
a
time.
follow-up question, sir. So please go ahead.
But not in the middle. But not in the middle. And if you want me to put your if you want to put your words in my mouth,
No,
that
I'm
you
just
cannot.
asking you a question.
But-
I'm not
but
putting my
you-
words in your mouth.
But you didn't allow me to answer your previous
Yes,
question,
absolutely.
madam.
Go ahead, answer both questions.
I have said you I congratulate, but at the same time I condemn the way BJP is portraying that BJP is pro-tribal party. That's why I was citing few examples. Madhya Pradesh is being ruled by BJP. Their crime on tribals has increased by more than 25%. Only few months back, a Dalit lady was molested only at a few kilometer distance from the presidential house at New Delhi. You just cannot forget all this.
Okay.
The way BJP is trying to play this Dalit card, I condemning that. Definitely, I congratulate Draupadi Murmu ji. So far, my party is concerned, my party Supremo has categorically said, had it been discussed before, maintaining the cooperative federalism, giving importance to the essence of cooperative federalism, the thing should have been something different.
Okay.
But BJP, as it does always, they never discuss. So far the candidature of Draupadi Murmu ji was concerned, that was the standpoint
For
of
VP
our party
candidature also,
supremo.
now you're saying that the TMC was never consulted, isn't it?
Certainly they asked for our opinion, but they never said that they are going to make this lady as a candidate of
Okay, so the TMC was
presidential
never
post for the
consulted.
country.
That the allegation is same for the BJP and for the opposition as well. Shekhar Iyer, then Dr. Anand Ranganathan and Shehzad Poonawala. Quickly, Shekhar Iyer ji.
Swati, right now we heard him say that, Babita felt she was not consulted. Now the opposition, again she says opposition has not consulted Margaret Alva, so the Trinamool Congress is going to abstain from that. See, the consultation, not consultation is all simply a smokescreen. What we know for a fact is, it was considered a political masterstroke when the BJP chose Draupadi Murmu and got NDA allies as well as parties across the spectrum to back her. And today when we hear of the cross-voting, because her vote, Draupadi's vote is actually crossing 70% at this moment. And this is only possible because many voters in the electoral college felt that she is the right candidate for this moment.
Okay.
She is the right choice. So there is no denying in that. Now when you see this, Mamata did not even invite Yashwant Sinha to visit West Bengal. That shows only that in the state of Bengal, the feeling among the people of Bengal, particularly the southern Bengal, where there are huge central population, they also felt that this is the right thing to do, and nobody wants to be on the wrong side of history, excepting a select few, because they can't stand Modi.
All right, Dr. Ranganathan.
Today, Swati, I'm afraid people are being so acrimonious. And, this is why data is important and how it demolishes scaremongering. As to Mr. Faisal Ali, who's been factually wrong on so many counts, he's also wrong on the count that Dalit atrocities. Did you know that under UPA from 2009 to 2013, there was a 17.3% increase in atrocities against Dalits? When he's talking about a rubber stamp of, Dalit President Mr. Kovind. Did you know that Kerala right now, with a charge sheet rate of as high as 80%, is one of the highest in terms of crime rate against Dalits, more than the national average? And I can also cite anecdotal evidence. In 2019 Congress MLA, he said, because Dalits did not vote for me, I will not work for Dalits. So let us not go about this competitive accusations of BJP and Dalits. The point of the matter is, let us go by data. Let us go by data about what. Sir, please do not interrupt me. Did I interrupt you? I did not interrupt you. So please do not. Swati.
You are trying to...
Faisal Ali Saab, let him finish his point. I just have
because you are putting your...
1 second, I just have a minute or two left. Let him finish his point.
No, he is factually incorrect.
Yes.
I did not mention anything about atrocities. I simply said that what empowerment was brought to Dalits and OBCs during Mr. Rana.
Okay, he wants to know the change that happened. Okay, Dr. Ramanathan.
Yes. So as I was
trying
saying,
to put his words in my mouth.
Now listen, please.
He's BJP spokesman in disguise.
Swati.
ठीक है, point taken, sir. Let him finish.
Yes. So he should know by corollary that during 2009 and 2013,
when the president was elected by the UPA, nominated and elected by the UPA, the crimes against Dalits increased by 17%. So does that mean to say that the UPA actually, managed to increase the crimes against Dalits and there was a rubber stamp president did? These things don't work like that.
Okay.
The point is our society has to improve.
Okay, the society has to improve. Dr. Ranganathan, I have to interrupt because very little time is left, and Shahzad Poonawala, the charge remains the same. This is symbolic. Will this move beyond that? Will there be an impact on ground and change? Respond.
You know, for the first time in 70 years, the OBC Commission has given constitutional status. For the first time, SC, ST, OBC community has got 60% representation in the cabinet. For the first time, we had the OBC Prime Minister, who is the longest serving Prime Minister. For the first time, we had a Dalit tribal president that has now come to the constitutional position of president. So I think those who are calling this symbolic and optical and only perception are those who can't get over Parivarvad.
You know, I'm completely out of time. You're saying they're not able to get over Parivarvad. The opposition's charge remains the same. While they're congratulating Draupadi Murmu, they continue to maintain that this is just symbolic. Many also questioning, will this move beyond symbolism? But rising above all of that, it's a very, very significant moment for the country. Draupadi Murmu is the 15th president, the first female tribal president of the country. With that, I wrap up the debate. stories of the day.
Prime Minister Modi met top cabinet ministers to discuss the government strategy in the parliament. The development comes as opposition parties continued to force adjournment in two houses of parliament over their demands related to price rise and GST. The AIADMK party headquarters reopened in Chennai after 10 days. This comes after Tamil Nadu Revenue Department had sealed the party headquarters after a clash broke out between the camps of AIADMK leaders E.K. Palaniswamy and OPS. The Supreme Court has agreed to examine a plea seeking an action taken report from the Haryana government on the death of Haryana DSP. Surendra Singh was killed while investigating illegal stone mining on Tuesday in Pachgaon area when he was mowed down by a truck.
The most pressing issues, the most informed minds, free and fair exchange. Converse India with Rahul Shivshankar.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Murmu magic on Raisina Hills. Draupadi Murmu's name has been etched in history as she becomes the first ever tribal woman to become the President of India. With this win, Draupadi Murmu will be the second female president of the country and the first woman from Odisha, and will be India's youngest president ever. As soon as the numbers establish that Draupadi Murmu will be the next occupant at Rashtrapati Bhavan, Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived at the President-elect's home to congratulate her. The Prime Minister was accompanied by BJP President JP Nadda. Listen in to what her ecstatic brother had to say.
Joining with me is the younger brother of Draupadi Murmu. सर, जो ऐतिहासिक नतीजा आना था वो आ चुका है, कैसा महसूस कर रहे हैं आप अभी?
बहुत खुशी महसूस कर रहा हूँ। कहे मेरा दीदी मतलब राष्ट्रपति बन गया, उससे खुशी के बाद क्या हो सकता है। उसका भाई का नाते मेरे को बहुत खुशी है।
क्या आपको सर उम्मीद था कि इतने बहुमत से आप लोग जीतेंगे?
ये तो उम्मीद नहीं था, लेकिन जितना आदमी से वो हर जगह जाके संसद से और एमएलए से मिला, उसी टाइम से पता चला कि दीदी जीत जाएगी करके।
सर, इसके बाद अगला प्लान क्या है? कब आप लोग जा रहे हैं दिल्ली राजधानी?
हम लोग 23 तारीख का टिकट कर चुका है, दिल्ली 23 तारीख को जा रहे हैं।
सर, आखिरी सवाल, जिस तरीके से सुबह से रायरंगपुर के वासी यहाँ पे मौजूद थे, सपोर्ट कर रहे थे, नाच रहे थे, गाना गा रहे थे, उनके लिए क्या कहना चाहेंगे?
बस उनके तो उन लोग बहुत खुशी था, इसीलिए उन लोग को भी बधाई देना चाहता हूँ कि दीदी का मतलब खुशी में मतलब उन लोग जुड़ा हुआ था, इसीलिए उन लोग को बहुत बहुत बधाई है।
Her opponent and opposition leaders joined in to congratulate President Draupadi Murmu, though the formal announcement is still left. Yashwant Sinha, while congratulating, said the poll process has brought the opposition closer. Rahul Gandhi congratulated the President-elect Draupadi Murmu, while Mamata Banerjee said that the country will sincerely look up to Draupadi Murmu as the head of the state to protect the ideals of our constitution. After taking a mammoth lead, Draupadi Murmu raced to the halfway mark, leaving behind her rival Yashwant Sinha after the counting of round 3. Murmu had received 53% of the electoral vote, with a total vote of 5,77,777 votes versus Yashwant Sinha's 2,61,062 votes. But what's troubling for the opposition is the cross-voting that took place for the NDA's candidate. 17 members of parliament from the opposition and 104 MLAs in 12 states have cross-voted for Draupadi Murmu. 22 MLAs in Assam alone cross-voted in favor of Draupadi Murmu, while 19 MLAs in Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra 16 MLAs, Gujarat 10, Jharkhand 10, 6 MLAs also voted for Draupadi Murmu in Bihar, and 6 in Chhattisgarh, 4 in Goa. And that just shows the amount of inroads that the NDA has been able to make into the vote base of the opposition parties. If this wasn't enough, the opposition is in disarray. In fact, even before the vice president's voting can happen, Trinamool Congress has made it clear that it will abstain from voting for Margaret Alva, the Congress's candidate. They say that they weren't consulted and she was picked up in haste. Listen in.
I'm objecting to the process the opposition candidate was announced without consulting and deliberating and interacting with a party which has 35 MPs in both the house. And also ideologically, I cannot support the NDA candidate, come what may. So that is the reason we have decided to refrain ourselves from participating in the voting process.
Well, and it's not very calmly that Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary responded to this and in fact called out names to Mamata Banerjee, calling her a political fraud and a liar. But that's just the language that he uses, says the Trinamool Congress. So ladies and gentlemen, that brings me to the legitimate question that we're asking on the Newshour tonight. Raisina verdict, has it revealed the 2024 trend? That's the question we're asking. Hashtag Murmu, Madam President. The debate coming up on the other side.
You're watching the News Hour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
And joining me on the Newshour tonight, GVL Narasimha Rao, Member of Parliament and National Spokesperson of the BJP. Also joining us is Smita Prakash, Editor ANI, Sushmita Dev, Member of Parliament and National Spokesperson of the Trinamool Congress, Tehseen Poonawala, Political Analyst, Akshay Marathe, Spokesperson of the Aam Aadmi Party. Let me get in Sushmita Dev ji first. Sushmita Dev, 17 members of parliament have cross-voted and 104 MLAs from different states have cross-voted in favor of Draupadi Murmu. Does this really show any amount of opposition strategy, unity or any war plan to try and defeat the NDA? Or as always, Akla Cholo Re is the way we are going to see the opposition going?
See, first of all, opposition unity vis-a-vis the president's election and the 2024 elections are two very different issues. And I can't say that which are the parties that cross-voted because I haven't studied the results, but it's definitely not from the Trinamool Congress. It is very simple. President's election is an election which doesn't have a whip and it's a vote of conscience. So the parties from whose ranks people have broken, you should be asking that question. As far as Trinamool Congress is concerned, we voted as per our leader's decision and there was absolutely no breaking away from our ranks. And people who cross-voted from the opposition I don't know who they are, so I can't comment for the other parties. And I would also like to say, Navika, at the end of the day, she is the president-elect and I congratulate her and I wish her all the very best. It's a very important job and a very significant one given the backdrop of the nation where constitution and the institutions of India are clearly under threat. She's going to be playing a very big and significant role. I wish her all the very best.
Well, Sushmita Dev, gracious of you to say that, but there are two words or rather expressions that you use that I must pick on and get GVL Narasimha Rao to respond to them. Sushmita Dev started with saying at the end of the day, Draupadi Murmu is the president-elect. Well, she was the president-elect or going to be the president-elect at the beginning of the day when the announcement was made, number one. And number two, she also said that presidential votes don't carry a whip. People vote according to their conscience, but then slipped in. Our leader had decided that we have not to vote for Draupadi Murmu, so we voted the other way. So no conscience required for the Trinamool Congress MLAs and MPs. GVL Narasimha Rao, am I making a logical conclusion from this or do you think it can be inferred any other way?
Navika ji, to you, to the viewers of Times Now and to the people of this country, I would like to congratulate all the people of this country, including myself. This is a historic moment. We have a very, very qualified tribal leader, a woman elected as the president-elect. I think it's in the 75th year of independence. This is a very, very historic moment, ऐतिहासिक moment है. So I think let's celebrate that first of all. And given the suitability of her nomination, given her credentials, her rise to eminence from very ordinary and very poor background, I think she represents the spirit of this people of this country. She represents the spirit of the most deprived people of this country who strive hard by their own merit to achieve distinction in their lives. And therefore, Srimati Draupadi Murmu, a candidate fielded by the BJP NDA, her election gives tremendous confidence and tremendous happiness to the people of this country that you can achieve in 75th year of independence. The people of this country can aspire for any position based on their work and merit, not based on the families they come from, not based on their personal loyalties to individuals or families, but by their own merit. I think therefore it's a very, very important moment in our country's history. And as regards the opposition strategy is concerned, if there is anything called a strategy, that is absent. It would have been befitting for the opposition to support the candidature of Srimati Draupadi Murmu if they really believed in justice, social justice, if they really believed in electing somebody who is most suitable, whose election actually makes people of this country proud. I think the opposition certainly, I would call it actually arrogance. They may not like the word, but arrogance, even when they don't have the numbers, they do not want the election of a woman politician from very, very humble origins to be given a easy election, to be given a unanimous election. It's only the attempt was to somehow make it look that the polity is divided. I don't think there is anyone who can oppose candidature or election of Honorable Srimati Draupadi Murmu, but they did not want this moment to be a moment of unity for all the political parties and political people in this country. But whatever may have been their acts of omission and commission, we have a very, very capable, very able and an inspiring lady
absolutely proud moment for India.
And we will all look forward to 5 years of her service. Yes.
Absolutely proud moment for India as a woman from a backward community, a community that has a lot of ground to cover even after 75 years of our independence, and making it on the dint of her own hard work. And that merit that has brought her here is inspirational, and I'm sure many in this country will take inspiration from that. But Tehseen Poonawalla, that's not to be for the Congress party. The Congress party still begins to wonder where the world really begins from their own candidates and their own politics.
Navika ji, at the onset, let me extend my heartiest congratulations to Srimati Draupadi ji. She is now our president, and we wish her all the best, wish her all the success, because when she succeeds, India succeeds, you and I succeeds. We may have different political points of view, but we all wish for India to succeed, so we wish her success. I heard the Honorable Member of Parliament and my friend from the BJP, GVL Narasimha Rao ji, and he spoke very highly of Draupadi ji, and he should. She does deserve to be President of India. But you know, my angst with the BJP is, when the BJP opposed, for example, K.R. Narayan ji, the first Dalit President of India, is it the stand of the Honorable Member of Parliament today that K.R. Narayan ji, the first Dalit President of India, did not deserve to be Rashtrapati? When the BJP opposed the first tribal speaker in the Parliament, and that's a democratic right, is the BJP anti-tribal? Or when they opposed Pratibha Patil, a distinguished woman, a national table tennis player champion, table tennis level champion, when they oppose her, are they anti-women? Let's not get into calling each other adjectives. Today is a historic day. Let's celebrate the victory. But understand, you've opposed, we've opposed. The Congress gave the country the first tribal chief minister in Gujarat 85, first tribal chief minister in Odisha 89. You'll oppose that, and that's fine. That's your right. So let's come to that. Coming to the TMC, my name for the TMC, I think TMC should now decide whether it wants to only help the BJP, because it certainly helped the BJP in Goa, whether it wants to be a fence sitter, because when Sushmita ji, again, I have a lot of respect for her, she says democracy is being bulldozed, is being trampled upon. What are you doing? You're a participant in this. You foisted Yashwant Sinha ji upon the opposition. Mamta ji should have taken Yashwant Sinha ji to all those who were not UPA, not NDA, and tried to get their votes. She should have taken him to Hemant Soren. She should have taken him to others who would not have, who could, and tried to swing their votes. She didn't do that. Now when it's the vice president, you don't want to come along with the opposition. You're not a part of the UPA, but everything you do ends up helping the NDA win. So you need to decide, because now motives are being attributed to the TMC. We are not asking that the TMC should come and protest for Mrs. Gandhi. Don't expect all that from the TMC. The least that TMC can do is be a part of opposition unity. The AAP came across, others came across, and if you're not a part of it, come and talk. Opposition unity will be built by dialogue, not with arrogance, not with saying you didn't consult us, so we will not come on board. Everyone else is on board, and that's my only suggestion to the TMC. Again, I have a lot of respect for Mamta ji, for Sushmita ji, but it's time to work as a team if you have to defeat Prime Minister Modi and the BJP. We cannot have one party going one way, one party going the other way.
Sushmita Dev, you should come and talk. They will not call you, but you should come and talk. And they will call you, Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary will call you or your leader a political liar, a fraudster, but you should come and talk. Do you agree with Tehseen Poonawalla?
See, Tehseen Poonawalla is a political analyst, but what he's failing to analyze here is the fact that it is Mamta Banerjee who took the initiative when it came to the president's election. And it is not Mamta Banerjee who was in London before the president's election. And number two, it is very simple. If you want opposition unity, no doubt Congress is a larger national party. We cannot deny it. They have a larger presence in this country. But they need to shed their arrogance. They need to shed their arrogance because they need to realize that the one single reason why the BJP keeps winning and coming back to power is because the people at the helm of affairs in the Congress party, which is the Gandhi family, have to realize what their limitations are. They have to realize not what the people inside the party want, which is the Gandhi family, but what 135 crore people think that Congress should be doing. So they need to take off those glasses of theirs. And I have seen many rallies of the Congress party in Ramlila ground. Let alone my father, I have myself done Congress for 30 years, and in the Ramlila ground there are 30 or 50,000 people. Today Mamta Didi did one rally in Bengal with 7.5 lakh people. And after a long time I could put a tweet saying that today I am with a mass leader. Okay, so the day Congress party realizes where they stand with the masses, they will start thinking differently. And also let me put this on record, what Adhir Ranjan ji says is of no relevance, because Adhir Ranjan has been in cahoots with the left for donkey's years to keep winning his post and has never travelled the length and breadth of Bengal to revive Congress. That's the reputation of Adhir Ranjan. Okay, and Navika ji, let me tell you something. Today as I join the nation in congratulating Draupadi Murmu ji, in a democracy, when you contest any election, whether it's presidential, whether it's vice presidential, whether it's an MP election, that's how a democracy works. And you cannot demean any party for putting up a contest and fighting a position. That's democracy. Otherwise we would be a one party nation, which is not fair. That doesn't happen in a democracy.
Just allow me a one-line rebuttal.
Fair point, Tehseen Poonawalla. Tehseen Poonawalla, if you know what's good for you, you will not try to, you will not want to brazen it out at this stage because Sushmita Dev, who's been in the Congress for centuries, as has her father, who I have met as a reporter in my younger days, you know, she's demolished the Congress party and given you the truth of the Congress party as stark as anybody can. So what? No, just hang on. Let me get in Smita Prakash. Smita Prakash, who's worn a Sambalpuri sari, in solidarity with Draupadi Murmu ji, who's been elected and has won the presidential election. So Smita Prakash, what do you think this election and the victory of Draupadi Murmu actually reflects on current day politics and on 2024. Do you think, as the opposition, it has no bearing on 2024 or the way the opposition is stacked right now?
Well, firstly, I think as a woman who has, is a career person, media person, it feels great to have a woman president. Then it feels all the more great that a person who comes in from, one of the poorest sections of our country, she has become the president of India. So, a lot of hope rests on her, Navika, because she shoulders the responsibility of being a representative of tribals who are among the poorest in the country. Their consumption of what we consider luxury goods, which are actually just consumer goods, is low as their access to drinking water, pakka roads, pakka houses is among the lowest. So for them, one among them has come to become the president. Will it change their lot immediately with a snap of the fingers? It's not going to do that. It's not done that for the Dalits after Ramnath Kovind became, or after anybody, I mean, for that matter, Mayawati became chief minister. It's not like that. That's not the reality. But in spite of that, it just goes to show that despite her caste identity, she has risen to where she is. Now about the politics of it all, the fact is that, opposition unity is a chimera. Yashwant Sinha, in his concession speech, unnecessarily caustic, he mentions about how the opposition got together behind him. I think it just showed that it showed up just the opposite. It showed up how fragmented the opposition was in his nomination first, because there was nobody, and I think Sushmita is right that nobody came up with a name. And finally it was Mamta who said, chalo, let's get together, and then asked Farooq Abdullah, Pucha, no, I don't want to become. And then let's not go into that, but the point is Yashwant Sinha was like a default choice that he became, and he nothing worked for him even after he became the presidential nominee. So today he speaks about threat to democracy and stuff like that in a concession speech. Absolutely no need to do that. It should just have been a congratulatory note. On the other hand, the Congress, which is so weird, I can't understand where they get their arrogance from. This talk about, that the TMC is arrogant, where is your arrogance coming from? I just can't understand. I mean, you have decimated one of the oldest parties in the country to this. Everybody is watching today that while Draupadi Murmu is getting nominated, what are the Congress politicians doing? They did not go and court arrest over price rise or over whatever. They went and courted arrest all the top guns, courted arrest over ED questioning. So, they are so far removed from reality, it is embarrassing. And I wonder what's going to happen with the Margaret Alva nomination, now vice presidential election. I think, somewhere about this come talk to me and things like that, this childishness has to go. For the sake of opposition unity, it has to just end. Somewhere where TMC is saying that, we were not consulted, we were just told 15 minutes before. Now here is a woman candidate. There is somebody who has worked with you people in the past. Margaret Alva is a very, non-controversial candidate for that matter. Just join hands. Just for the sake of it. You know that she doesn't stand a chance. She's probably going to lose too. But what is the harm in getting together and, for the sake of unity, as they say, they can just come together and do it. But I think today it is more about that. And, as far one more point I just want to make is that, this, how they all went against Murmu and called her names, it isn't so much about Murmu as it is about Modi. It is opposition to Murmu because she was a name suggested by Prime Minister Modi. So it was against Modi that they said all these weird comments about her.
Well, so let me get in Mr. Marathe from the Aam Aadmi Party. Does the Aam Aadmi Party also believe that the Congress party is arrogant? Because the Trinamool Congress has said that. The fact that people's issues are not issues really for the Congress or any other party to court arrest. But the Congress goes and courts arrest big leaders, and they tweet, we have been arrested, God knows where we are being taken around and stuff like that. But they've forgotten Mehngai, they've forgotten inflation. And when it comes to somebody from the backward classes, the scheduled tribes, people who have been really at the end of the receiving line for any scheme in this country, when such a woman is put forward on the basis of merit and on the basis of being a representative, shouldn't it have been a moment when the opposition could have stood with the idea of India and idea of development of these communities in our country rather than looking at narrow political gains? Mr. Akshay Marathe?
Navika ji, first of all, on behalf of the Aam Aadmi Party, I really want to extend our heartfelt, wholehearted congratulations to Ms. Draupadi Murmu ji. I'm sure it is a day of pride for her and her supporters and the rest of the country as well. At the same time, I do want to say that never in India's history, except for one exception, has a candidate who has been proposed by the ruling party lost a presidential election. So it is not a matter of shock or surprise that Srimati Draupadi Murmu ji has been elected as the President of India, and it is certainly not shocking for the Aam Aadmi Party that the candidate that we voted for did not become the President. But be that as it may, the President of India is not a political post. It is not that the BJP has won the election. It is an independent person, Ms. Murmu ji has won the election, and the Aam Aadmi Party has certainly no issues with that. We are very happy for Ms. Murmu ji, and we will work with her to protect the constitution and to make this great country even greater. When it comes to the politics of this election, I want to say on record, the Aam Aadmi Party from the very beginning was not involved in the deliberations with the opposition when it came to the selection of the candidate. After the opposition came together and decided on Mr. Yashwant Sinha ji, Aam Aadmi Party's Political Affairs Committee decided that we will support the opposition candidate. Even now, when now the vice presidential election is coming up, the Aam Aadmi Party is not involved in that selection process. We will come to a decision very soon before the elections about whether or not we will support Srimati Margaret Alva ji. And to answer your question about the Congress party in specific for questioning, and a lot of Congress supporters are on the ground. But we have seen so many issues of national importance that have come and gone when the Congress party has failed to show up and failed to deliver for this country as an opposition party. It has been other parties like the Aam Aadmi Party. Mr. Arvind Kejriwal has been at the forefront of challenging the BJP. And I think the Congress is vacating that space, and it has become a party just serving the interests of the Gandhi family. And it is a tragedy for this country that the main opposition party has decided to behave in this manner.
Well, Tehseen Poonawalla, do you still have a one-liner left?
I have more than one line since it's one against everybody. So I hope that as speaker you protect my right to reply. So first to Sushmita ji. Sushmita ji, I am a political analyst and I analyze the situation extremely well. I think as a member of parliament you are slightly mistaken. Ma'am, Rahul Gandhi is neither the president of the Congress party nor the chairperson of the UPA. Unlike I know the BJP is obsessed with him, but I didn't know that if you had to discuss, Srimati Sonia Gandhi ji is the person you should have discussed with. But you brought out Rahul Gandhi because you know that that's an easy pot shot. But no problem, I'll allow you that pot shot. The fact of the matter is you helped the BJP win in Goa, and you're not taking a stand on Margaret Alva. For my good friend Akshay Marathe, again, a lot of respect for him. He had to say what he has to say. Ultimately, the AAP will come and vote with Margaret Alva ji. I'm telling you this on record. But here's the fact of the Aam Aadmi Party. Mr. Arvind Kejriwal, who's a super chief minister of Punjab, running Punjab from Delhi, is putting cases on farmers in the
and that's the arrogance. Akshay Marathe, please, Akshay Marathe, is the Congress party taking your support for granted? Just the way it did the TMC? Is this, is Mr. Tehseen Poonawalla displaying the arrogance which is really the legacy of the Congress party that he carries? Yeah, you're an analyst, but related to the family that matters in the Congress party.
Take my point at least, please.
1 minute, I'm asking Akshay Marathe.
No, what is he accusing Sushmita of? What are you accusing Sushmita?
I'm the chairperson of the UPA, Sonia
Rahul Gandhi is low-hanging fruit. So Sushmita went for it. He is admitting that Rahul Gandhi is low-hanging fruit.
Rahul.
No, I never said that. I said Sonia Gandhi.
Of course they know it.
You are acting out as Rahul Gandhi when he is not the chairperson of the UPA.
So opposition unity has to be decided by Sonia Gandhi.
I'm sorry?
Sushmita Dev, more than Tehseen Poonawalla, you know the Congress party. Do you buy the argument? 1 minute, Tehseen. Sushmita Dev, do you buy the argument that Rahul Gandhi is neither the president of the Congress, nor is he the working president, nor the vice president, and therefore, why are you accusing him of being in London? Do you believe the Congress party runs, without Rahul Gandhi saying what he wants?
And could they dial Mrs. Gandhi?
I think I just know so much about how the Congress party runs and what Rahul Gandhi runs that I think I'm just not going to dignify the political analyst with anything. I'm going to spare him. But okay, let me come back to the main debate. You see, the point is...
But please educate the viewers of this country. Please educate the viewers of this country. You have a duty towards the viewers, the people of India.
See, Navika, let me tell you something. Rahul Gandhi ji calls the shot, and everybody inside Congress looks up to him for decisions. Doesn't matter what post he holds. And I'll tell Mr. Poonawala, take it as a compliment. Your leader say that. Rahul Gandhi doesn't like the fact that you're telling him that he's not this and he's not that. I mean, I don't know if you're authorized to speak for the Congress, but they wouldn't like it. They wouldn't like you to say things like that about Rahul Gandhi. You've got the wrong narrative as far as the Congress is concerned. See, you said, let me address the issue that you said we are helping the BJP in Goa. Do you know why the Bharatiya Janata Party is coming back to power again and again? Because quoting a bigger analyst than you, Prashant Kishore, in 180 seats, it is the Congress versus BJP, a direct fight, which is Congress is repeatedly losing. Congress should decide to literally exit some states like Odisha, Bengal, Tripura, Meghalaya, Assam. If they decide to just exist and die there, an alternative will be able to come up. You see, you have to know when to pull the plug.
But they've exited. They've exited Bengal. They have zero. They have zero number of seats in Bengal, so they have exited Bengal. But GVL Narasimha Rao is raising his hand and wanting to come in. I've been unfair.
They contested.
Yeah, they contested, but they don't win anything.
You cut our vote. Congress helped the BJP in Bengal by contesting.
Speaking of Goa, I want to remind...
Okay, all right. GVL Narasimha Rao. GVL Narasimha Rao. GVL Narasimha.
Remind Tehseen that 5 of the 10 Congress MLAs in Goa are already working with the BJP. So it is the Congress which is responsible for the rise of the BJP.
When we began the debate...
Well, Mr. Political Analyst, I think you should pack your bags. Not only the Congress's business is over, even the political analyst business is over as of now. GVL Narasimha Rao.
No, Navika, when the debate began, I thought as usual I was pitted against 3 members of the opposition. But now the competitive arrogance of 3 opposition parties is on display on this very debate. And this is dissonance is not because they want to have one-upmanship over the other. The reality is they find it is impossible to take on BJP, led by Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, who is following the real democratic politics. None of these parties run on democratic principles. Most of them are family parties, where only a family counts or an individual counts. That's not the case with the BJP. That's where people can see the real democracy is flourishing in the BJP, while the family shops are actually trying to protect only their interests. Today, what the Congress party has done in Delhi, we had a debate on a bill in Rajya Sabha on the weapons of mass destruction. This was a bill to amend the Weapons of Mass Destruction Act, and the Congress party was absent. And there was a discussion in the morning. There were a number of important questions being discussed in the question hour. The opposition, including the Aam Aadmi Party, the Trinamool Congress, will not let this happen. They are quite anti-democratic. They are not allowing Parliament to function. There were questions on employment, there were questions on media, there were questions on the courts, of functioning of courts and justice, but they were not interested in this debate. I think the opposition is increasingly competing with each other in
That's the
parliament.
big question and the big debate coming up on the other side, and we'll take up that issue. That issue on how the ED unites the Congress party like nothing else does. But latest numbers that are coming in from the Secretary General of the Rajya Sabha, and this is the announcement that's come in. 6.76 lakh is the vote value of Draupadi Murmu, and she has been declared the winner of this elections. That translates to about 64% of the votes. Yashwant Sinha about 3.8 lakh votes. That is what has gone to Yashwant Sinha. So clearly 64% of the votes going to Draupadi Murmu, while the opposition seems to be in absolute disarray over this entire issue. The fact is, arrogance and competitive politics within the opposition really keeps them bereft of ideas on how to take on the BJP. The question is, will this translate into 2024 election results? Well, the jury is still out on that, but it is advantage NDA, it is advantage Narendra Modi at this point in time, and the opposition clearly now getting ready for the next round of sharpening their knives for the vice president election, of which Mamata Banerjee has walked out of supporting the opposition candidate. More will unfold as time goes by. Thank you very much to my panelists for joining me on debate number 1. On the other side, the big debate on what happened in India today, because anyone above the law in India is a question people of India are asking. Does our constitution allow special privileges based on your parivar? Today, when Sonia Gandhi was called in for questioning by the Enforcement Directorate, her party unleashed arg, abuse and arrogance. A protest against the alleged misuse of central agencies was branded Satyagrah 2.0. But these visuals on your screens, ladies and gentlemen, show just how Mahatma Gandhi's form of peaceful protest was completely devastated by what the Congress party did. Burning cars in Bengaluru, which police sources say actually were cars bought from Kabadiwalas for 15,000 rupees and set on fire. Accused of rupees 2,000 crore land grab, money laundering and cheating on taxes, the Congress that was protesting against GST woes in Parliament over the last 3 days refused the Parliament to allow to function, but suddenly changed tack and orchestrated violent protests across the country. Sample some of these visuals as we ask, is this Satyagrah? In Bengaluru, workers actually bought this car and set it on fire. And in Hyderabad and in Jaipur, we saw similar scenes. Listen in to what loyalists of the Gandhis said when they were justifying the violence as an outpouring of anger because agencies were being misused. Listen in.
We do not want to have protests like that, but the people are very angry. You know, when you have Nipur Sharma who talks about the Prophet and demeans religion, you know, and the minorities are feeling cornered, they are angry. And you know, if their leaders, they feel these are the leaders who speak about it in Parliament, you know, they stand by them. And then, you know, they will definitely revolt, they'll rebel.
The common man's problem also is Sonia Gandhi. Congress party is a party that brought freedom to this country. We here today stand and voice for the freedom of the human beings, freedom of individuals, freedom of citizens. And now you're trying to cut down the voice of the freedom of the individuals. So the youngsters are getting angry, they're coming out and burning things.
बीजेपी वाले ऐसी झूठे बातों में माहिर हो गए, तो ऐसे बाता अब उनका ही आदमी होगा ये ऐसे कामों में, क्योंकि कांग्रेस पार्टी को बदनाम करने के लिए ऐसे फालतू कामों। परसों उदयपुर में एक हत्या हुआ था, कौन था वो हिंदू मुसलमानों में कुछ जहर फैलाने के लिए कोशिश किए, वो पकड़ा गया। कौन निकला? भारतीय जनता पार्टी का निकला।
I mean, they should be considering her age as well as her health. And as I said, she could have been asked questions in her house, wherever they felt. I suppose, I mean, if I use the word that it's they are vindictive, and I think that in a way I'm talking about the BJP.
Well, the BJP also responded and called this actually not satyagrah but duragrah. And that is the tone and tenor of the political confrontation that happened today. Let's go across to the big debate on this so-called misuse of agencies. And I'm joined by Monojit Banerjee, who's joining this debate from the Trinamool Congress. And I want to ask you, Tehseen Poonawalla, Monojit Mondal from the Trinamool Congress joining the debate. Tehseen Poonawalla, I want to ask you, there were different kinds of arguments that were given. Mr. Ashok Gehlot, Robert Vadra, all of them saying that the Enforcement Directorate should have gone to Sonia Gandhi's house to question her. Why call her out? While I understand on humanitarian grounds, but where was the humanitarian grounds when the Congress party was in power and they summoned Karunanidhi's 78-year-old wife in the 2G scam to question her? Agencies called her and questioned her. But at that time, you didn't think that it was necessary to be polite and have humanitarian considerations for her, but only for Mrs. Sonia Gandhi? It's a question of entitlement that the people are asking.
Thank you for your question. 2 or 3 quick answers. Mr. Karunanidhi and a 2G fake case, there was an FIR registered. Can anyone on this panel, especially the BJP member of parliament, show me an FIR against that names Mrs. Gandhi or Rahul Gandhi? Point number 1. Point number 2, during the Congress tenure, the Supreme Court made observations that the CBI is a case. Please don't interrupt me. It's very important about Mrs. Gandhi is a caged parrot. Here the Supreme Court in a written judgment said the ED director's tenure will not be extended. Yet the BJP extended this ED director's tenure by suspending 12 members of parliament, including from the Aam Aadmi Party and TMC. Is this not against the Constitution of India? And the BJP rich talking about satyagraha, those who backstab Mahatma Gandhi, who backstab the Quit India movement, who backstab the salt satyagraha, know nothing about satyagraha. All they know is how to misuse the agencies. I challenge the BJP member of parliament, please present the FIR. The conviction.
Mr. Tehseen Poonawalla, I think you don't know how the FEMA or the PMLA
I know how FEMA
functions.
Works.
May I just inform you
require
that
an FIR. You require
there is
an FIR.
an ECIR which has
That's
been
true.
registered. ECIR is there, which has been filed, and on the basis of that, the ED is conducting an inquiry. If you have a problem with the PMLA law and the way ED is functioning, well, the courts are open and they will be open for miscellaneous matters tomorrow, Friday morning. You can actually go to court and ask that question. So don't. No, but there is an ECIR and FIR is not required for the EDA. The predicate offence, money laundering case is investigated on the basis of an ECIR. So please, well, they're investigating, and that is the reason. Have they convicted you? Has the matter gone and has the conviction happened? Investigation is going on. You have a problem with the investigation.
0.6%.
1 minute, Tehseen, just calm down. Have a glass of cold
water.
Calm. And let me ask Smita Prakash. Smita Prakash, is this a bogey that is picked up by the Congress party? When they say that they should have agencies going to their house and questioning them, where ordinary people can be on the streets, they can pay now today whatever GST and whatever prices because the Congress is busy fighting the ED, and ED should be going to their house. Is this a sense of entitlement?
Radhika ji, at the onset,
Can I answer?
I'm getting some odd audio.
It's a bit rich. Yeah, so Yeah, so
Yes,
Navika,
Smita,
it's a little rich to say that that the ED should go to Sonia Gandhi's house to interview. I mean, everybody has gone, witnesses have gone. She has come to cast the vote yesterday. If she could do that, I think she could withstand the questioning. And the ED made it clear that if she is unwell and if she feels that it's a bit much, then she can leave. So today the process went on for close to 3 hours, and it's an investigation. Again, I'm saying she's not been convicted, as you just pointed out. It's an investigation. It's a complicated process. She apparently asked if she could leave after a couple of hours and to take her medicines, and the ED said fine. Now the thing is that the investigation will go on for a couple of days, because that's how the whole process is. You ask the question, that person replies back, it's typed in, then you read it. If there is any mistake, you point out the mistake, that changes are made. So it's a complicated process, and she has her health issues. She's recovering from COVID, so fine. But it's depressing to think about what the Congress did. The fact that because this questioning will go on for a few days, does that mean that every single day that she is questioned, cars will be set on fire, trains will be stopped? I mean, the Congress is literally so divorced from reality on the ground. Could they not see that the people have elected them to bring up issues? What are the issues which are hurting people today? It's price rise and it's unemployment. Everybody knows that. Even the BJP knows that. But you think that the Congress has gone and had, protests and demonstrations across the country or done some padyatras? No. Today the bigwigs, everybody in such a odd manner, they were going and courting arrests, mass detentions they were doing. They looked really absurd, not at all dignified. If they had sat in their offices and, as Mr. Gehlot was saying, that hum sirf wahan baitkar Raghupati, Raghav, Rajaram, Ishwar, Allah, Tero naam karne wale hain, we are not resorting to arson. That arson is the job of BJP if Modi had been arrested. The fact is that when Modi was questioned or when Shah was questioned, the BJP cadres did not come out. The thing is that Modi was a chief minister. He could have got out the crowds. He was a sitting chief minister. But nothing of that sort happened. Nobody has done it, even when DMK or anybody was brought out. And mind you, this health issue, there are businessmen who have major health issues. They are not spared. For hours together they have to be questioned. So what is so special about the Gandhi family that this is called a witch hunt? That is what it was called. That it's a witch hunt and it is vindictive and all kinds of weird names. In fact, Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary had even called ED as idiot. You can just say anything today. No respect at all for any institution.
Yeah. No institution will be respected. So Akshay Marathe, I want to ask you, if there is a process of investigation, the matter has to be fought in the courts of this country. Why is it on the streets of this country? Why are issues of the people not raised on the streets of the country? Why are issues of the Gandhi family being raised by the Congress party on the streets of this country? By burning and stopping trains?
Navika, I want to tell your viewers, even leaders of the Aam Aadmi Party have been questioned by the ED. CBI has questioned our leaders, they have raided our leaders, they have arrested our leaders. But on every single count, Aam Aadmi Party leaders have gone to the courts and they have been acquitted on almost all of them. There are some cases pending, including the case of our health minister, which we are very confident we will come out of very effectively. At the same time, I do want to point out that of the thousands of cases that the Enforcement Directorate is currently investigating and prosecuting, its conviction rate is a mere 0.6%. What does that tell us? It tells us that these cases are being filed in large numbers and people are being harassed on the behest of the ruling party, but the cases don't reach their fruitful end. They don't reach their logical conclusion in the courts of law. This is a serious question on the BJP I want to ask, and I hope Mr. Narasimha Rao has an answer for us about this. But again, I want to clarify that this does not mean that we have any sympathies with the Congress party today. I want to remind all the viewers of your channel, Navika, that it was the Congress party which amended the PMLA Act and which allowed the Enforcement Directorate the special powers to self-incriminate people during questioning. The Constitution of India protects the citizens of India from self-incrimination. But the Congress party thought it fit that
Well,
they wanted to introduce
absolutely. The law
self-incrimination.
was amended by the Congress. Narasimha Rao,
Can I just
are
finish my point?
agencies
Just quickly.
harassing people based on political... I'm running out of time, Akshay Marathi, and I have to go to Monojit Mandal as well. GVL Narasimha Rao, respond to Akshay Marathi.
Navika ji, first of all, what the Congress party has done today is to put on display psychophancy at one level, Parivar Bhakti, Sonia Bhakti at one level, and at another level, arrogance and hubris. And an attempt to show that we are above every institution. When it comes to the family, they will have the status like a monarchy in India. That is not the case. They must understand they are all political leaders, irrespective of their position, they are at the same level before the law, before institutions. We all have the same equal footing. Like Smita ji mentioned, when Prime Minister Modi ji was Chief Minister of Gujarat, he was questioned for 9 hours by the CBI. He did not even seek a cup of tea. He did not even accept it. He said, no, I want no favors. I want to take nothing. And he answered all the questions that were asked of him. Well, he never showed that I am a chief minister. I will come back at my convenience. No excuses made. As a chief minister, he certainly had certain rights.
Monojit Mandal, I have very little time left. I'm sorry about that. But I want to ask you, divided with the opposition on presidential, vice presidential elections, but united on agency issues. Is that the only matter which brings the opposition together?
It's obvious. The reason is obvious. The ED, CBI have actually become BJP Bureau of Investigation. Enforce destruction or dictatorship, that's ED for you. Compromise Bureau of Investigation, that's CBI for you. While lies the question of, interrogating Hemant Biswa Sharma, Shubhendu Adhikari, Yedirappa. Are they all heavens cherubins? They're just dropping like naked newborn babes. If you want to quote Shakespeare, they're dropping from heavens. What are we talking about? It's obvious. Once they switch sides or they are from BJP, nothing happens. And look at how you harassed our General Secretary, Abhishek Banerjee. Not just Abhishek Banerjee, his family. His wife with 9 months old baby, she was asked to come to Delhi during the raging pandemic. That's what ED is all about. And ultimately it happens that ED lost the case and they have to come to Kolkata now. That's why I think this is all for you to see. It's obvious is happening. Only the opposition is being targeted. And I tell you, this will continue till 2024 because this is an election issue for them. No FIR. You don't need anything. If they don't have an FIR,
issue that
how long
unites
you have to question
the
them?
opposition versus the BJP when it comes to investigation agencies? It's a question many people are asking, and that's where we leave the matters because this questioning likely to go on again. We'll have to wait and watch if the Congress party decides once again to descend on the streets to create arson to prove their loyalty test. Thank you very much to my panelists and thank you viewers for joining me on the Newshour tonight. Good night. Take care.
The News Hour at 9 will be right back after the break. watching the News Hour at 9.
Prime Minister Modi met top cabinet ministers to discuss the government's strategy in the parliament. The development comes as opposition parties continued to force adjournment in two houses of parliament over their demands related to price rise and GST. The AIADMK party headquarters reopened in Chennai after 10 days. This comes after Tamil Nadu Revenue Department had sealed the party headquarters after a clash broke out between the camps of AIADMK leaders E.K. Palaniswamy and OPS.
You're watching the Newshour Agenda. I'm Padmaja Joshi. Today is truly a red letter day for our country. India has its second lady and first tribal president. Draupadi Murmu is India's 15th first citizen, and if her being in Rashtrapati Bhavan underlines how the most marginalized communities in the country are being consciously put at the front and center of the BJP's politics. The results today also showed up the deepening fractures in India's opposition. Despite multiple efforts to try and forge a united front against the Modi government and the NDA, even today the opposition's campaign was marred by cross-voting. And how? 17 MPs cross-voted, along with over 125 MLAs spread across over a dozen states. First, take a quick look at the breakup of how the cross-voting happened. The maximum cross-voting took place in Assam, with over 25 MLAs going over and above the assured number for Draupadi Murmu. 19 MLAs cross-voted in Madhya Pradesh, 16 in Maharashtra, 10 each in Gujarat and Jharkhand, 6 each in Bihar and Chhattisgarh, along with 4 MLAs in Goa. Now, while it is not clear which parties these MLAs belong to, it is significant that the maximum number of MLAs in most of these states after the BJP actually belongs to the Congress. Also remember that there is no whip applicable in the presidential election, so this was pegged as a conscience vote. It seems that for 125 plus MLAs, their conscience was gently nudging them in the direction of Draupadi Murmu.
So we have also seen cross-voting, over 100 MLAs cross-voting, over 17 MPs cross-voting is what we understand. It's only, of course, the second round so far. What do you think has happened over here that has led to this kind of cross-voting?
As far as we have, we have the input from some sources that more than 17 MPs have cross-voted. And I have also seen the reports in the media that more than 100 MPs have, MLAs have cross-voted. That means acceptability was quite high.
So are you saying that conscience vote appeal that was made by NDA and the NDA candidate, both candidates made that appeal, but the NDA candidate's appeal for conscience voting has worked on ground? Would you say that?
I feel so.
ये भारत के लोकतंत्र की ताकत है कि गांव, गरीब, किसान, झुग्गी झोपड़ी का इंसान भारत महान का राष्ट्रपति बन सकता है। तो सर्वोच्च संवैधानिक पद होता है किसी भी देश का। मैं समझता हूं कि इससे बड़ी खुशी देशवासियों के लिए और कुछ नहीं हो सकती है आज के दिन। और द्रौपदी मुर्मू जी को बधाई देने के लिए हम लोग यहाँ पर आए थे। उनको पुनः मेरी तरफ से बहुत-बहुत बधाई है।
And if that wasn't enough, the TMC launched a preemptive strike even as the presidential campaign of the opposition was falling apart. It seems now their campaign for the VP election, vice presidential election, also is in jeopardy because the TMC today launched a preemptive strike on the anti-BJP coalition, declaring even as the counting for the president was on, that they would be abstaining in voting for Margaret Alva. The reason? Apparently because the decision to make Margaret Alva the opposition candidate was taken unilaterally and without consultation.
The opposition candidate was announced without consulting and deliberating and interacting with a party which has 35 MPs in both the house. Ideologically, I cannot support the NDA candidate, come what may. We have decided to refrain ourselves from participating in the voting process.
Watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
So does this actually make it very clear what the road to 2024 is going to look like if the opposition campaign cannot stand together even for a presidential or vice presidential election? Then what happens to the general election? Joining us now is Rakesh Sinha, Member of Parliament of the Rajya Sabha, Abhishek Jha, spokesperson of the JDU, Professor Manojit Mandal, spokesperson of the Trinamool Congress, Naval Kishore Yadav, national spokesperson of the RJD, Anurag Bhadoria, national spokesperson Samajwadi Party, and political analyst Gokul Chandran. Let me actually start with you, Professor Manojit Mandal. Why was today's date chosen to basically deal this unkind blow to the Congress and other alliance parties?
So it was a pre-decided meeting. I think you did not hear us earlier. We have been maintaining that on 21st July, which again many of you might be knowing, it's a very special day in the history of Trinamool Congress and Mamta Di's rise as a political leader at the national stage, because we were commemorating the martyrs who were brutally murdered by the CPIM in 1991. So this was clearly stated long time back. The fact remains that
just a second. A week ago, Mr. Sharad Pawar said very clearly that even though Mamta Didi is not here with us in this meeting, she has in principle agreed. Nobody contradicted him. Nobody came out for the last 1 week to say that we do not agree with your choice. And suddenly a week later, you come out and say, we weren't consulted, this was unilateral, we don't agree.
Yeah, that's a fact. We were unfortunately not consulted. I mean, our National Secretary, Mr. Abhishek Banerjee, who is rising like a star in the national stage of politics, is made it unambiguously clear that it was only after the decision was taken inside a meeting, which was probably attended by many political parties, Mamta Di was being contacted. So naturally, it was stated position from our party that we at this point of time were extremely busy with this commemoration of the martyrs, which we could not hold for the last 2 years because of the obvious reason of pandemic.
Okay.
So it is a very special occasion, especially after the thumping win against the BJP last year. We could not celebrate even in the last year.
Okay.
So don't you think we deserve to celebrate or commemorate these special occasions also by celebrating our
absolutely.
victory
You
BJP
deserve to
in
celebrate.
2021?
You deserve to celebrate, but it's a very interesting comment. You had a thumping win against the BJP in West Bengal, but what happens now to the campaign for the national stage, Professor Rakesh Sinha? What do you make of the results today, one, and how the Trinamool Congress has already stepped out of the VP campaign?
This presidential election is very significant, not because a tribal woman is elected, but because the social philosophy of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. There is a paradigm shift. Before Modi era, during the Nehru era, the emphasis on tribal was just a tribal development plan. And a great tribal leader and a scholar, Ramdayal Munda, said, you are piping money in a leakage system. After 2014, Narendra Modi made a very significant change. That change was visible when he declared Birsa Munda Jayanti as a Janjatiya Gaurav Divas. Now the tribal woman is a percent. So Republic is realizing its worth. It is a completion of the Republic which remained partially complete because 8.6% population was ignored and remained the object of development. The object of development, 8.6% population which contributed from Tilka Manjhi to Trilok Singh in Meghalaya, they all played a significant role in freedom movement and national development. Therefore, I think that this step of Narendra Modi ji, which got the enormous people's support, marginalized people, has shattered the opposition party, because till now they played a symbolic role for the marginalized people, whether poor people, Dalit or tribal. Here there is a substantial step by the Prime Minister, that is a shift of the social philosophy from object to the stakeholder.
Quick response
Earlier,
by
tribal were the
Professor
objects,
Mandal,
now
and then I want to bring in Naval Kishorji, because he's also smiling. Professor Rakesh Sinha, he's also listening to you and smiling when you talk about shifting political philosophy.
We do congratulate
Yes, Professor Mandal.
Look at the hypocrisy on the part of BJP. While we do congratulate Madam Draupadi Murmu for her victory, but what BJP did, he was talking Birsa Munda. Last year, Mr. Amit Shah garlanded a different man by calling him Birsa Munda when he was not. They are not even aware of the tribal history of this country. It's just hypocrisy on the part of BJP. We are extremely happy about the fact that Ms. Murmu has become the president. We believe that she will look, she will fulfill the expectations of not just the country but the tribal population that she probably represents. And the BJP is trying to make a narrative of glorious condescension every now and then. We believe we shall lack. But BJP talking about tribal development, they don't even know the history of this country. Look at how many chief ministers they have made of the Dalits and the tribals. Forget about that. I mean, how many vice chancellors are from central ministry? I believe Mr. Rakesh Sinha is also from academia like me. How many vice chancellors are from Dalits or tribal background? It's all, I mean, for you to see just symbolic gesture. And even after 75 years of independence, do we need symbolic statement from the BJP or we need real action? How many of us will remember readily the name of the social justice minister in this country?
Professor
Sinha holds real executive power to do something for the Dalits and the marginalized.
Okay, Professor Sinha, respond.
I think we should not be polemical. When you are talking of the tribal, we have seen that 50 lakh tribals have been displaced in the name of development since independence. For the first time, we are making policy for the displaced tribal. We are also giving their rights in the forest areas. So let me complete. 8.6% tribal, their health indices, their literacy level, all were before 2014 the level, the change after 2014. So it is not the question of who is doing history, knowing history or not. Banwasi Kalyan Ashram, that is affiliated to RSS, has been working for decades in the tribal area. Those people who have not visited tribal area, those people who are not connected with the tribals, they are claiming that the tribals' right. I am not declaiming their right. I just say that tribals are the stakeholder in the development process. Do you know 4 tribal leaders who have played the great role in the freedom movement? In Amrit Mahotsav, Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji has a special emphasis that all the tribal freedom fighters and the incidents which took place against the British regime should be celebrated. So I think that opposition parties have the people who are more making slogans, shouting. They don't have the vision. The blinkered vision and fractured organization cannot give alternative to this nation.
Professor Naval Kishore Yadav, even if we agree that this is tokenism, even if we agree that this is nothing more than symbolism, the fact is that Yashwant ji himself said that vote for your conscience. In your state in Bihar, 6 MLAs listened to their conscience and said, हम अपनी पार्टी के कैंडिडेट के लिए नहीं, हम मुर्मू जी के लिए वोट करेंगे. तो भले से ही वो टोकनिज्म हो, बट उनका कॉन्शियंस तो मुर्मू जी को ही वोट दे रहा है.
देखिए पद्मजा जी, जब कोई व्हिप नहीं होता है इस इलेक्शन में तो क्रॉस वोटिंग की बात करना तो बेमतलब का है. अगर आप बात करना चाहते हैं तो उसका एक अलग डायमेंशन हो सकता है. लेकिन ये प्रेसिडेंशियल इलेक्शन में सबसे पहले और सबसे महत्वपूर्ण बात आज के दिन में ये है कि चूंकि चुनाव समाप्त हो चुका है, हमें एक नया प्रेसिडेंट प्रथम ट्राइबल महिला के रूप में मिल गए हैं, तो हमें सबसे पहले कांग्रेचुलेट करना चाहिए. और ये क्रॉस वोटिंग की बात करना बेमानी होगा, क्योंकि यहाँ व्हिप की बात नहीं है. नंबर 1
कॉन्शियस वोट जितना प्रॉमिस था उससे 6 ज्यादा छत्तीसगढ़ में, झारखंड में, बिहार में जो आपके पक्ष में वोट पड़ने वाला था वो नहीं पड़ा, वो दूसरे पक्ष को गया है. तो यानी कि कॉन्शियस जो है उनका द्रौपदी मुर्मू के साथ ही था ना, जिसको आपने टोकनिज्म बोला, उनका जमीर, उनका जहन बोल रहा है यही सही है.
देखिए यहाँ पे अगर अमृतकाल 75 साल के बाद भाजपा जब शासन में है तो सत्ता की भूख पूरी तरह से समाप्त करना चाहती है और उसके लिए ईडी, सीबीआई, पैसा, तमाम तरह के साधन का इस्तेमाल करती है. अभी राकेश सिन्हा जी ने बोला कि आरएसएस काम करती है ट्राइबल के लिए और दलित के लिए और ओबीसी के लिए. सही बात है, लेकिन वो कहती है कि आप ट्राइबल है, ट्राइबल रहिए, आप दलित है, दलित रहिए, आप ओबीसी हैं, ओबीसी रहिए, हम सवर्ण हैं, हमको सवर्ण रहने दीजिए. जो सदियों से गुलामी की मानसिकता है उसको जिंदा रखना ही काम है. एक खास तरह की जातिगत मानसिकता को लेकर आरएसएस काम कर रही है. ये कौन नहीं जानता है. जिस झारखंड की बात करते हैं उस झारखंड में आपने ट्राइबल के लिए इतना काम किया रघुवर दास जी के नेतृत्व में कि आपको वहां से भगा दिया गया. पुश आउट कर दिया सत्ता, जिसे कौन नहीं जानता है। पत्थलगड़ी आंदोलन में ट्राइबल का आंदोलन कौन नहीं जानता है कि आपने ट्राइबल के अनहित के लिए काम किया।
नवल किशोर जी, चलिए सब कुछ गलत कर रही है बीजेपी और आरएसएस, फिर भी जो विपक्ष का पूरा कैंपेन है, अभी आप आंकड़े देख लीजिए। आंकड़े क्या कहते हैं? असम में 22 एमएलएज ने अपने पक्ष के अगेंस्ट वोट किया है, मध्य प्रदेश में 19 एमएलएज, महाराष्ट्र में 16 एमएलएज, गुजरात में 10 एमएलएज, झारखंड में 10 एमएलएज, बिहार में 6 एमएलएज, छत्तीसगढ़ में 6 एमएलएज, गोवा में 4 एमएलएज, पंजाब, उत्तर प्रदेश, हर जगह अपने पक्ष के अगेंस्ट लोगों ने वोटिंग की है। ये क्या दर्शाता है आपको? अगर आप एक यूनाइटेड फ्रंट इन अ प्रेसिडेंशियल इलेक्शन नहीं कर सकते, तो 2024 में तो क्या ही आप यूनाइटेड फ्रंट करेंगे?
नहीं, आप देखिए, दो अलग अलग बातें हैं। प्रेसिडेंट चुनाव में जो डायनामिक्स है वो अलग है। जो प्रेसिडेंट चुनाव में एनडीए के कैंडिडेट को वोट किया है, चाहे जो भी आधार हो, अगर हम सीबीआई,
अरे आप एक पक्ष बनाते हैं एक वजह से, नहीं तो आप इलेक्शन के पहले सामने ही क्यों आए कहेगी कि हम एक यूनिफाइड कैंडिडेट अपना फील्ड करेंगे? देयर इज अ रीजन दैट यू हैव अ यूनिफाइड कैंडिडेट, राइट अनुराग भदौरिया? बिकॉज यू से कि इस यूनिफाइड कैंडिडेट को जिता करके हम दिखाएंगे दैट वी आर इन द गेम। एंड बाय द वे, उत्तर प्रदेश में भी विपक्ष की वोटिंग हुई है।
चलिए पद्मजा जी, मैंने आपकी पूरी बात मान ली और हमने राकेश सिन्हा जी की भी बात मान ली। पहले हम अपने देश के 15वीं राष्ट्रपति जो बनी है माननीय मुर्मू जी को मैं दिल से बधाई देता हूं कि वो हमारे देश की पहली आदिवासी महिला राष्ट्रपति बनी है। इनके लिए उनको बहुत बहुत बधाई। अब मैं पूछना चाहता हूं, अच्छी बात है, लेकिन क्या राकेश सिन्हा जी बताएंगे कि आदिवासी लोगों के लिए जीएसटी जो 5% आपने लगाया है दलित के लिए खत्म कर देंगे आज से? क्या उनको आटा, चावल, दाल, दूध, दही, छाछ और पनीर में क्या उनको 5% अब जीएसटी नहीं देना पड़ेगा? आज के बाद से आप खत्म कर दीजिए, तब तो लगेगा कि पूरे दलित समाज का उत्थान होगा या आदिवासी समाज का उत्थान हो जाएगा। आज से आप माफ कर दीजिए, तब तो जानूंगा कि आप सच में उनके उत्थान की बात करते हैं, वरना आप उनके मुंह से रोटी छीनना चाहते हैं। आप राजनीतिक बात कर रहे हैं। सामाजिक अगर न्याय करना है, समाज में अगर आदिवासियों को, दलितों को सम्मान
अगर आप कह रहे हैं कि आदिवासी के हित के अगेंस्ट काम हुआ है जीएसटी लगा के, और उसके बावजूद आपके स्टेट में 12 लोगों ने, 12 एमएलएज ने इसी बीजेपी, एंटी दलित, एंटी आदिवासी बीजेपी के कैंडिडेट के लिए वोट किया है, तो इसका क्या अर्थ निकाला जाए?
मैं आपकी बात मान ली, इसीलिए तो कह रहा हूं कि उनकी मदद के लिए, आदिवासियों की मदद के लिए, दलित की मदद के लिए आज से ही राकेश सिन्हा जी बोल दें, कल पार्लियामेंट में अनाउंस कर देंगे कि 5% जीएसटी जो हमने बढ़ाया है, उनकी रोजी रोटी जो छीनने का काम किया है। आपने रोजगार तो उन्हें दिया नहीं, जो रोटी खाते हैं, दाल, रोटी, चावल, दूध, दही, छही, वो भी छीन लेना चाहते हैं उनके मुंह से।
अनुराग जी, जो मेन इशू है, आप उसका जवाब नहीं दे रहे। मैं आपसे सिंपली ये पूछ रही हूँ कि आज एक आपके पास अपॉर्चुनिटी थी,
उसी का जवाब,
दिस वॉज एन इलेक्शन, 2 कैंडिडेट्स थे, एक एनडीए कैंडिडेट, एक नॉन एनडीए कैंडिडेट। नॉन एनडीए कैंडिडेट तितर बितर हो गया आपका कैंपेन। आई एम ट्राइंग टू आस्क यू, क्यों आपका कैंपेन ऐसे छिटक गया?
आपका सवाल तो सुन लिया। अरे आप, ठीक है, आपका सवाल का जवाब, भाई जो जीता है उसको बधाई दे दी हमने, और देना भी चाहिए।
पर आप ये मानते हैं कि आपका कैंपेन छिटक गया?
आदिवासी समाज
और आपके पास कितने प्रबल मुद्दे हैं। आपके पास जीएसटी का मुद्दा है, आपके पास नेशनल एम्ब्लम का मुद्दा है, आपके पास अनपार्लियामेंटरी वर्ड्स का मुद्दा है, फिर भी आपका कैंपेन क्यों छिटक गया? अनुराग जी, कोई तो वजह होगी ना।
आप सुन तो लीजिए, बस, अच्छा सुन लीजिए, थोड़ा समय दे दीजिए। आप इतनी परेशान नजर आती हैं, मुझे चिंता हो जाती है। देखिए, आप इतने परेशान मत होइए, मुझे बोलने दीजिए। आपकी परेशानी से हम परेशान हो जाते हैं, कहीं इतना टेंशन आप मत लीजिए, मुझे बोलने दीजिए। मैं कह रहा हूं कि जो आदिवासी समाज की बात हो रही है, दलित समाज की बात हो रही है, अब मैं पूछना चाहता हूं कि उत्तर प्रदेश में एक दलित मंत्री हैं, वो चिट्ठी लिख रहे हैं कि मुझे दलित मंत्री हूं, चूंकि 3 महीना मुझे बने हो गए, ना मेरे पास कोई डिपार्टमेंट, ना कोई काम करने को मिला है। ये मैं नहीं कह रहा हूं, दलित समाज के मंत्री कह रहे हैं। तो ये बताइए, इन्होंने उनके बारे में दलित समाज के लिए
चलिए बताइए राकेश सिन्हा जी, एक तरफ अगर द्रौपदी मुर्मू जी हैं तो दूसरी तरफ खटिक जी हैं, आप किसका विश्वास करें?
दूसरा You know, the issue is not the individual.
आप ही का सवाल पूछ रही हूँ, आपने खट्टिक जी का बहुत जबरदस्त मुद्दा उठाया, उनको जवाब देने दीजिए। राकेश सिन्हा जी,
अरे 10 सेकंड तो दे दीजिए, 10 सेकंड तो दे दीजिए, 10 सेकंड ज्यादा नहीं लूंगा,
मैं बताता हूँ, ये शांत हो तो मैं बोलूँ।
इतना तो बनता है विपक्ष।
अनुराग जी के पास
4 मिनट 18 सेकंड से आप बोल रहे हैं अनुराग जी, अब 4 सेकंड उनको भी दे दीजिए। चलिए राकेश सिन्हा जी को बोलने दीजिए। राकेश सिन्हा जी,
for in a political space, the individual entity and the problem is not much important. Important is the social and economic philosophy. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's significant intervention in the social and economic field. They are talking things he is not doing the poor. More than 14-15 crore toilets is going to the poor. You may not be realizing, but I realize. When I was a small child, I heard my mother's friend came and said that one woman went for toilet and someone was given light on her, torch on her. You go on the roads and you will, earlier you would have found that the woman standing when car was passing, because there is light in the night, standing on the road. So I think that this is a social revolution which Prime Minister Narendra Modi heralded. A tribal woman is becoming the President of India is not an isolated incident. I am saying that Padma Award, who is taking Padma Award?
5% GST आपने
Tulsi
लगाया,
Gowda from Karnataka, a common man, not a celebrity.
तो आप ट्राइबल के ऊपर से GST
Trinity Sayo from Meghalaya,
हटा दीजिए, मैं आपकी बात मान जाऊंगा।
The people who are tribal, they are the marginalized people, they were unknown people in the Nehruvian era, which includes the Samajwadi Party, RJD, all these things. So Prime Minister Modi's social philosophy is reaching to the last man, which is known as Abhyodaya. What Ram Manohar Lohia used to dream, what Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay imagined, what others
समाज के बारे में बात नहीं कर रहे हो।
Okay, अगर आप ट्राइबल की बात करें ना, let's talk about substantive issues. Let's talk about substantive issues. Let me remind you that there is a minister in Nagaland who said himself, by the way, Anurag ji, and this is a real thing. Nagaland के minister हैं Temjen Imna Along. उन्होंने खुद बोला एक हफ्ते पहले that in 1999 when I went to the Taj Mahal, I was asked, which land are you from? Switzerland, Ireland or Finland? That is because he said I'm from Nagaland. And he says today in mainstream India, in mainland India, I know what my identity is. I am proudly a tribal and I am proudly an Indian. Things have changed on the ground. But let me bring in Abhishek Jha. अगर RJD कह रहे हैं और RJD और समाजवादी पार्टी कह रहे हैं that this largely remains at the level of tokenism. You can have as many Draupadi Murmus as you want, but things change very little at the ground. Do you take solace only in the fact कि आप चाहे जितनी गलतियां कर लें, आप चाहे जितना tokenism कर लें, opposition is in a greater disarray? Abhishek Jha.
First of all, we'd like to congratulate Honorable Draupadi Murmu ji for being elected as the 15th President of this Indian Republic. And I was listening to the entire debate. This is like a political slap on the face of the opposition parties, which were continuously telling that Draupadi Murmu will serve like a murti, like a statue. The leader of opposition in Bihar, Tejasvi Prasad Yadav ji, told that Draupadi Murmu is just like a murti, and so we should not vote for her. But what happened? Listen to the internal conscience, so many MLAs across the nation, in different states, you presented the data very well, that they listened to their entire internal conscience and thoroughly voted for Draupadi Murmu. This clearly shows that the entire nation is feeling very proud. Every citizen is feeling very proud. The citizens who belong to the tribals are feeling very proud that a very ordinary woman, a very simple woman, has rose to the topmost offices of the Indian nation, and she is going to serve as the 15th president of this Indian Republic.
Nawal Kishore ji, do you also think that आपने शायद misread किया mind of people considering cross voting उन स्टेट से भी हुई है जहां पे ट्राइबल पॉपुलेशन बहुत हाई है, जैसे कि आपका स्टेट झारखंड, छत्तीसगढ़?
देखिए पद्मजा जी, मैंने पहले ही बोला कि जहां पर व्हिप नहीं है, क्रॉस वोटिंग का कोई मतलब नहीं है। नंबर एक, सुन लीजिए, पहले सुन लीजिए, अब क्यों घबरा जाते हैं इतना? मुझे मालूम है कि आप भी एक प्रचारक हैं, आपके डिबेट के माध्यम से भी आप बताना चाहते हैं कि एनडीए महान है, मान लूंगा मैं।
हम विचारक हैं सर, आपकी तरह।
आप विचारक नहीं, आप प्रशंसक दिखती है। आप प्रशंसा कभी कभी विपक्ष भी कीजिए।
फैक्ट्स के प्रशंसक है और फैक्ट तो यही है ना सर कि आपके स्टेट में आपने बोला कि द्रौपदी मुर्मू सिर्फ एक रबर स्टैंप बन के रहेंगी और आज आप ही के स्टेट में जितने वोट्स पड़ने थे द्रौपदी मुर्मू जी को उससे ज्यादा पड़े हैं। दैट इज अ फैक्ट और उस फैक्ट की मैं प्रशंसक हूं और प्रचारक भी हूं।
देखिए आप ये सब रिपीट कर सकते हैं बार बार। आप पूरे देश को बताना चाहते हैं कि नरेंद्र मोदी इतना प्रभावशाली है।
मैं ये बताना चाहती हूँ कि वोट तो ज्यादा मिले, मेरे बोलने ना बोलने से कुछ फर्क तो पड़ेगा नहीं, वो तो कल पेपर में भी छपेगा।
अगर सब बात आप ही बोल दीजिएगा पद्मजा जी तो आपसे महान कौन है?
चलिए बोलिए नवल किशोर जी।
हम लोग को भी बोले। देखिए मैं सिर्फ ये बताना चाहता हूँ, सुन लीजिए पहले, बहुत कंटेंट के आधार पे ये बताना चाहता हूँ कि प्रेसिडेंट के लिए चुनाव जो होता है उसमें प्रेसिडेंट अपने वोटर के पास पहुंचते हैं, इनडायरेक्ट इलेक्शन है। उस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में तेजस्वी यादव जी ने कहा था कि द्रौपदी मुर्मू जी को हमने नहीं सुना है कहीं प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस सुनते हुए, तो हम क्या राष्ट्रपति भवन में मूर्ति चाहते हैं? ये अभिषेक झा को समझता नहीं है। अरे अभिषेक झा शांत रहो, पहले बकवास मत करो, सुनो पहले, अरे सुनो पहले, बकवास मत करो। तुम्हारे बीच में बोला हूं मैं, शांत रहो ना, सुनो पहले। तुमको जो समझ में आता है तुमने बोल दिया। Don't intervene this way.
One at a time, please. One at a time, gentlemen. Professor Yadav, one at a time, please. Yes.
No. Let me complete. Ask him to speak at his time.
Yes, please. You complete your point. Yes.
What I am saying that if this election is on an indirect basis, the voter has right to know what the candidate thinks. In that context, he has said, you can understand the way you want to. If there is a cross voting on the basis of whatever thing, you know there's political situation which is full of political vendetta that is followed by Narendra Modi ji government, who do not know that this conscience change might also be under the pressure tactics. I am not saying that also. Let there be cross voting on the basis of conscience. But the opposition party is there, and there are at least 33 parties, those who were there behind Yashwant Sinha.
Okay, so this is not about a vote of conscience, Abhishek Jha. This is about coercion. हो सकता है कुछ प्रेशर रहा हो इन एमएलएज के ऊपर।
नीतीश कुमार जी भी कोर्शन में हो सकते हैं।
नीतीश जी कोर्शन में
हो सकते हैं।
अगर तेजस्वी प्रसाद यादव was about to deliver his speech in front of the Prime Minister of India at least 6 times, he was not able to express himself. What does this mean? अभी ये अलग तरीके से
let's not make it about personal comments about people. No. Let's stick to the topic, please. Let's stick to the topic.
ये जब नहीं आप पद्मजा मुझे बोलने दे, जब ये बातें कहते हैं कि द्रौपदी मुर्मू जी बोल नहीं पाते, कॉन्फ्रेंस नहीं, हम कन्विंस नहीं हो पाए, तो आप जब अपनी बात बोल नहीं पाते हैं, आदरणीय राबड़ी देवी जी जब यहाँ की मिनिस्टर बने, मिनिस्टर को नहीं बोल पाते कि आप आप किसी के बोलने और प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस की जरूरत से लाइए, आप किसी को जज नहीं कर सकते। You cannot judge a person who has been a governor in a state, who has been a minister, who has been given the award of a very good analyst in the entire nation. What does it mean?
Okay, please, Abhishek Jha, answer the point. The point is that if people have voted today against their candidate, how do you know it is for conscience? It could be for coercion. So much is happening. Today Sonia Gandhi is being called. Maybe some MLA sitting in Bihar is thinking, भाई कल को मेरे ईडी आ जाएगा दरवाजे पे, चलो द्रौपदी मुर्मू जी को वोट कर देता हूँ।
पद्मजा एक बात बताइए कि किस एमएलए ने किसको वोट किया, ये तो पब्लिक हुआ नहीं। ये हमें क्रॉस वोटिंग के बारे में मालूम चलता है जब एक्स्ट्रा वोट पड़ते हैं। तो जब एक्स्ट्रा वोट पड़े हैं तो किस बात का प्रेशर? आप किसी पॉलिटिकल पार्टी में हैं और आप कैसे कह सकती हैं कि हर एमएलए को इस बात का ही डर होगा कि कभी ईडी आ जाएगी, कभी सीबीआई आ जाएगी? ऐसा भी तो हो सकता है कि इसका इंटरव्यू बोलता है, ये कहता हूं कि द्रौपदी मुर्मू जी के रूप में प्रथम महिला आदिवासी राष्ट्रपति हमको मिलने वाली है, तो चलो उसमें हम योगदान देते हैं अपना। इट कैन बी अ पॉइंट लाइक दैट। ये कहना कि किसी तरह का प्रेशर है, वी स्ट्रांगली डिनाई दिस फैक्ट। There is no pressure. It is just about internal conscience that the MLAs are thinking that they need to pay a step. They need to take a step just to make an ordinary tribal woman the president of this Indian Republic.
नवल किशोर यादव,
देखिए प्रेशर तो दिखता है ना, जब बिहार के प्रदेश अध्यक्ष नीतीश कुमार के ऊपर कमेंट करते हैं कि अग्निवीर आंदोलन में लगता है कि ये कुछ नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, ये प्रेशर तो उनको दिखता होगा ना। रोज उन पे आक्षेप लगाया जाता है भाजपा की तरफ से। ये प्रेशर तो दिखता है ना, तीसरे नंबर के नेता होने के बावजूद भी चीफ मिनिस्टर बने हुए हैं, प्रेशर दिखता है ना। जिस पार्टी, सुन लीजिए, एक लास्ट
प्रेसिडेंट इलेक्शन में तो आपका सीक्रेट वोट होता है ना, मैंने मुर्मू जी को दिया या किसी और को दिया, किसी को क्या पता चलेगा? क्या प्रेशर, किसी को पता ही नहीं चलेगा।
अरे पद्मजा जी, आपके विषय में भी सारी जानकारी ईडी को होगी, सीबीआई को होगी, आप घबराइए मत, जब जरूरत होगा तो उनको पता चल जाएगा।
निराशा ही होगी सर, उनको निराशा ही होगी, ईडी को कुछ पता चलेगा, वो छोड़ दीजिए।
मुझे पूरा विश्वास है, मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि
बट पॉइंट इज कि किसी और को ये पता नहीं है ना कि आपने जाके किसको वोट दिया नवल किशोर जी, तो मैं आपको रेड कैसे करवाऊंगी जब मुझे पता ही नहीं आपने किसको वोट दिया।
अरे इस देश में जिस राजनीतिक दल को अभी दल के रूप में रिकॉग्निशन नहीं मिला है, वो चीफ मिनिस्टर बना है। जो सिंगल लार्जेस्ट पार्टी है महाराष्ट्र में, वो डिप्टी सीएम बना हुआ है। कौन सा राजनीति है? सुप्रीम कोर्ट का ऑब्जर्वेशन भी देख लीजिए।
चलिए ठीक है, तो प्रेसिडेंशियल इलेक्शन आल्सो इज कॉम्प्रोमाइज्ड इन दैट सेंस, दैट इज व्हाट यू सीम टू बी इंसिनुएटिंग। लेट मी ब्रिंग इन Gokul Chandran at this point. Just a second. Gokul Chandran and Professor Manojit Mandal and Rakesh Sinha, let me bring them back into the conversation. Gokul Chandran, the thing is that irrespective of who wins, how is it that the Congress party always ends up being on the losing side? Of all people, today the Trinamool Congress also turns around and tells the Congress, bhai, you went and made that announcement, you never asked us, and we are walking away. Bye. Bye.
Yeah, good evening, Padmaja. I'll make quick 2 points. First of all, I would like to join the 135 crore Indians in congratulating Srimati Murmu for being elected as the next president of India, and we are happy about that. And the second thing is regarding the cross voting which you talked about. But before that, I would also request everyone not to anymore term her as a tribal or Dalit or Muslim or Christian. She is our president. She doesn't have a caste. She doesn't have a religion. And let it be president of India. No more tribal, no more Dalit. That is my humble request. And second thing regarding the cross voting. See, here what happened was Congress party has done a mistake by supporting Mr. Yashwant Sinha as the candidate for the presidential poll. You know the credentials of Mr. Yashwant Sinha. He was very recently, he jumped from BJP and he sided with Mamata Banerjee. Okay, so whoever cross-voted, I will not blame anyone. Who would like to vote for someone who was very recently with BJP and who was with Mamata Banerjee?
Then why was he made the presidential candidate of the United Opposition against the BJP?
Candidate.
Why was he made the candidate?
Yeah, that's what I'm telling.
And not only was he made the candidate, he was made the face of democracy. We were told, want to save democracy, vote for him.
Padmaja, that's what I'm calling out the mistake. I'm not defending anyone. I'm calling out the mistake. Again, in vice presidential polls, you asked a question, why TMC is not supporting Margaret Alba? See, everybody is not Sonia Gandhi or Rahul Gandhi to withstand the pressure of BJP, ED, CBI, IT and everyone. So Mamata Banerjee has her own pressure. She doesn't want to go behind the bars. She doesn't want to go to jail, nor her nephew wants to go to jail. So of course they will not be supporting the Congress candidate.
Professor Mandal.
So it proves, finally it proves, Congress is the only credible opposition party.
I really don't understand who is
in
this.
India.
He's a Congress supporter. If you don't want to respond to him, by the way, Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary also today said that Mamata Banerjee is a turncoat to the power of infinity. +1.
Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary. I don't want to talk about Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, but and people of Bengal know who is the biggest cow trafficker in the Murshidabad district. I am not naming anyone. Who has been trafficking cows to Bangladesh since 1980s. And who is very close to the Prime Minister of this country, who patted him when he became one leader. I am not naming anyone. So I mean, I don't want to go by the conversion of any political party in Bengal, especially representing CPIM or Congress. I have not said that you are saying this.
No, you said Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary is close to Mr. Modi and he patted his back.
But you know, I did not say this. He can be, he may be.
Spread lies.
But the fact remains that if you talk about Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, he decimated the Congress party. He decimated the Congress party single-handedly in Bengal, even in his own district, which was a kind of forte for the Congress, district of Murshidabad. This political analyst supporting the Congress party must be knowing. He single-handedly decimated the Congress party and surrendered to the BJP in Murshidabad. Do you even know this? Do you even know this? You can't decide what the TMC will do, right? You can't decide. You can't take TMC for granted. A party with the second highest number in the opposition in the Rajya Sabha and in the Parliament, Lok Sabha, you can't take us for granted. You needed to consult us.
I have one question.
Right?
So tell me this, and we're just breaking this piece of news, by the way, of all the people who went against the understanding about the candidate. I won't call it cross-voting anymore. We are learning that among the people who went against their earlier mandate, 14 of the MLAs who cross-voted in Madhya Pradesh are from the Congress, Mr. Gokul Chandran. 14 Congress MLAs have gone against what was pre-decided.
Yeah, I told you. I told you, Padmaja. Congress didn't act properly in supporting a candidate who was being put up for the top post of this nation. Mr. Yashwant Sinha was no way he is eligible for that post, and for such credentials, forget BJP. Associating with TMC itself is a crime.
Well, if you think Yashwant Sinha was a bad choice, Margaret Alva is somebody who literally wrote in her book about Christian Michel and the helicopter deals. So final word to you, Professor Rakesh Sinha, where does this leave the BJP campaign? Is it just going to be sitting back and taking it easy, looking at what is happening to the opposition camp, where they are busy criticizing each other and can't seem to agree, and even when an agreement is reached, there are underhand decisions taken on later? Professor Sinha.
We are a political party, but we don't do everything and every time taking vote as a central point. Vote is important for a political party, power is also important for the political party, but you see, when Prime Minister directed and inspired the workers to work during the COVID, was it for the votes? When he inspires workers to go to the medical centers where COVID vaccination is taking place, is it only for the votes? Vote is a natural corollary. If you are doing good work, people will be attracted. Prime Minister Modi has become a magnetic power in the Indian politics. Therefore, it is impact on different political parties, those who are pro-poor, those who are concerned to the common man, now realizing that the old socialist slogans by the Congress and the dynastic party is not going to work. It is the pro-people work which is making impact. Therefore, this is not, you may not call it a cross-voting, but you can call the rebel against their leadership. RJD MLAs voted for the president. Congress MLAs voted for the presidential choice of NDA. They saw that in future, the party would face the split in the party. Because now the democracy is taking the center stage. Grassroots democracy is emerging, not the elite democracy. Based on the father, son, daughter, these are the successor of each one. That is not going to work.
Okay, you are saying this is about democracy. A lot of people think it's more about the disarray in your opponent's camp, whether they will finally be able to band together. There's a lot of time. Still 2 years left for the next election. Thanks very much, all gentlemen, and I think I speak for everyone when I say that today Draupadi Murmu is not a tribal. She is not a lady who is a candidate of any one party. She is the 15th President of India. Thanks very much for joining us. Today, Congress President Sonia Gandhi was called for questioning by the Enforcement Directorate in the National Herald money laundering case. Ahead of her arrival at the ED office, her party members staged protests across the country, branding the stir a satyagraha, a way of peaceful resistance. However, what transpired on the streets was anything but peaceful. Vehicles were set ablaze, trains, fire tenders, and even ambulances were stalled, and all of it was an outpouring of anger.
We do not want to have protests like that, but the people are very angry. When you have Nipur Sharma who talks about the Prophet and demeans religion, and the minorities are feeling cornered, they are angry. And if their leaders, they feel these are the leaders who speak about it in Parliament, they stand by them, and then they will definitely revolt, they'll rebel.
The common man's problem also is Sonia Gandhi. Congress party is a party that brought freedom to this country. We here today stand and voice for the freedom of the human beings, freedom of individuals, freedom of citizens, and now you're trying to cut down the voice of the freedom of the individuals. So the youngsters are getting angry, they're coming out and burning things.
बीजेपी वाले ऐसी झूठे बातों में माहिर हो गए, तो ऐसे बाता अब उनका ही आदमी होगा ये ऐसे कामों में, क्योंकि कांग्रेस पार्टी को बदनाम करने के लिए ऐसे फालतू कामों। परसों उदयपुर में एक हत्या हुआ था, कौन था वो हिंदू मुसलमानों में कुछ जहर फैलाने के लिए कोशिश किए, वो पकड़ा गया। कौन निकला? भारतीय जनता पार्टी का निकला।
But it doesn't end here. Some within the Congress even asked why did the ED have to summon Sonia Gandhi to their office for questioning. Instead, couldn't the officials have gone to her doorstep?
I mean, they should be considering her age as well as her health, and as I said, she could have been asked questions in her house, wherever they felt. I suppose, if I use the word that it's they are vindictive, and I think that in a way I'm talking about the BJP. I would say that it's a complete witch hunt.
3-4 ತಲೆಮಾರುಗಳಿಗೆ ಆಗುವಷ್ಟನ್ನು ನಾವು ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೇವೆ ನೆಹರು, ಇಂದಿರಾ ಗಾಂಧಿ, ಸೋನಿಯಾ ಗಾಂಧಿ ಹೆಸರಲ್ಲಿ. ಈ ಕಿಂಚತ್ತು ತ್ಯಾಗಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ತಯಾರಾಗದೆ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಇನ್ನು ಮುಂದಕ್ಕೆ ತಿಂತಕ್ಕಂತ ಅನ್ನದಲ್ಲಿ ಹುಳು ಬೀಳುತ್ತೆ.
ईडी को इडियट बना दिए ये सरकार ने। हिंदुस्तान के लोग तो देख रहे हैं, अगर सोनिया गांधी जी की कुछ हो गई तो हिंदुस्तान की आम जनता ये सरकार को नहीं माफ करेंगे।
Sir, doesn't the opposition have the right to carry out a satyagraha when they feel that they are being hunted down?
Well, the first question I would like to raise today on your channel is, if there is a law in the country, it will operate differently for common people and differently for Sonia ji and Rahul Gandhi. What kind of message the Congress party, which has ruled the country for more than 60 years, is seeking to give to the common man? अगर तुम्हें पुलिस स्टेशन बुलाया जाएगा, तुम आकर के हजारों को लेकर के घेर लो पुलिस स्टेशन को, IT ऑफिस, ED ऑफिस. They want to have double standards. Therefore, when you accuse us of trying to subvert the constitution, rule of law and institutions, what you are doing is exactly that. The second issue is, some facts have to be recalled on your channel. The complaint in this regard was filed before we came to power in 2014. The Delhi Metropolitan Court took cognizance under 420 cheating and also 120B criminal conspiracy against Sonia ji and Rahul Gandhi. They went to High Court for quashing it, failed. They went to Supreme Court for quashing it, failed. The both of them are on bail today, mother and son. Income tax proceedings started, heavy penalty imposed, and thereafter tribunal also plea rejected, High Court plea rejected. Now if you have already made your party as your pocket party, your leader as your pocket leaders, now you want to make the party's property also as your personal property. That is sum and substance. But the larger issue is, if you have failed in all the legal forums, why would you not appear before the lawful authority to reply to questions? That's the only issue of which they are making all the hullabaloo.
Because today Mallikarjun Kharge said that it is a rule that when anyone is above the age of 65, 65 साल से उम्र के जितने भी वरिष्ठ नागरिक होते हैं उनके घर पर जाकर पूछताछ करते हैं, लेकिन यहाँ पर जानबूझकर बीजेपी पावरफुल दिखने के लिए सोनिया जी को ईडी तक लेके आ रही है.
मैं आपकी बात का जवाब दूं बहुत सरलता से. खड़गे साहब ईडी के दफ्तर में गए थे कि नहीं? खड़गे साहब की उम्र कितनी है, आप मुझे बताइए. पहले चिदम्बरम साहब के खिलाफ एक कार्रवाई हुई थी ना, ईडी ने उनको गिरफ्तार भी किया था, वो 100 दिन तिहाड़ जेल में भी थे. He got the bail from Supreme Court. What is the age of Mr. Chidambaram? Come on, what kind of logic is being given? She said that she's unwell. Twice the ED gave her time or not by postponing the date of questioning. Therefore, these questions are not relevant. The relevant point is, and therefore today on your channel I need to recall what this whole case is about. This whole issue of National Herald, from Jawaharlal Nehru's time, so many public shareholders were there. It went into non-printing. The Congress government gave it concession lands in Mohali, in Delhi, in Mumbai. Today there is property of crores fetching a rental of crores of rupees. Now 99% of the share, 9 crore share, were transferred to Young India Limited before we came to power in 2010-11. And 76% of Young India is owned by whom? Sonia is 38%, Rahul Gandhi 38%. Therefore, this entire property came into, because all this, including the landed property. And Congress party gave 90 crore rupees to this National Herald publishers. Once it was transferred, that loan was written off. Therefore, without investing a single penny, this huge property and everything came into the kitty of a firm substantially owned by the mother and the son. That's the whole issue is about. Fraud, cheating, conspiracy. The matter is being investigated. Trial will take place. Therefore, all the facts they are not stating. Only Indira Gandhi Sonia ji is being victimized. Did you take bail or not? Are you on bail or not? Is Rahul Gandhi on bail or not? Did you run from court to court or not till the apex court and failed in your attempt? Therefore, आपके लिए कानून का रास्ता अलग होगा, दूसरे अलग होगा. And you know, Padmaja, something very interesting today. Today, a tribal woman, marginalized community, sister, a distinguished leader who has done so much for the society is becoming the President of India. A tectonic moment in the polity of the country. And see the Congress behavior, which has ruled the country for more than 60 years.
It's interesting you brought up Draupadi Murmu ji. If I can just...
standards of New India on the one hand.
Sorry to interrupt, just 1 second. It's very interesting you brought up Draupadi Murmu ji, because Margaret Alva turned it around the other way and said that BJP says that we stand for tribals and women, and look at how you are treating a lady. That on the very day Draupadi Murmu is possibly going to be elected our next president, this is happening.
My reply is very simple. Margaret Alva today is the vice presidential candidate. Though bound to lose, surely. But once you are a candidate for the august office of the Vice President of India, you are required to at least follow the norms of restraint and protocol which a nominee to that office has to follow. I think I have spoken enough. She has been a governor for so many states. She has been a union minister, and she has been an MP for many terms. So I hope Margaret Alva knows the law, isn't it? Beyond that, I have nothing more to say.
All right, Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad, thank you very much for speaking to us. This is not the last, of course, that the Congress says. You've heard on their satyagrah as far as the new Indian case is concerned. Thanks very much, Mr. Prasad, for having joined us.
The News Hour at 10 will be right back after the break.
The most pressing issues, the most informed minds, free and fair exchange. Converse India with Rahul Shivshankar.
The News Hour at 10.
Prime Minister Modi met top cabinet ministers to discuss the government's strategy in the parliament. The development comes as opposition parties continued to force adjournment in two houses of parliament over their demands related to price rise and GST. The AIADMK party headquarters reopened in Chennai after 10 days. This comes after Tamil Nadu Revenue Department had sealed the party headquarters after a clash broke out between the camps of AIADMK leaders E.K. Palaniswamy and OPS. The Supreme Court has agreed to examine a plea seeking an action-taken report from the Haryana government on the death of Haryana DSP. Surendra Singh was killed while investigating illegal stone mining on Tuesday in Pachgaon area when he was mowed down by a truck.
The News Hour at 10 will be right back after the break. You're watching The News Hour at 10.
अबे तू किधर
Thank you.